The coffee tasted different that morning. Not bad, just different. Like when you buy the same brand you've always bought, but something in the water changed, or maybe the machine needs descaling, or maybe your taste buds are finally giving up after 41 years of filtering the world through your tongue. I didn't think much of it then. That was 3 months ago. Now I understand that the coffee didn't change? I did. Or maybe I started noticing things I'd been too comfortable to see before. When you share your life with someone for 8 years, you stop looking at them. You see them, sure, but you don't really look. They become furniture. Familiar, expected, safe. Jessica was never furniture. She was a high school counselor. Good at her job, patient with troubled kids, firm with entitled parents. People liked her. I liked her. Past tense feels wrong even now, but present tense feels like a lie, so I'm stuck in this grammatical purgatory where I don't know what we are anymore. I'm a building inspector for the county. It's exactly as boring as it sounds, but it pays decently and comes with a pension that'll keep us comfortable when we're old and gray and sitting on a porch somewhere arguing about whose turn it is to check if we locked the door. That was the plan anyway. The morning the coffee tasted wrong, Jessica kissed me goodbye at 7:15, same as always. She smelled like lavender shampoo and the vanilla lotion she kept on her nightstand. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She wore her gray blazer, the one with the tiny coffee stain on the left sleeve that never quite came out no matter how many times we tried. "I've got a late meeting today," she said, grabbing her keys from the hook by the door. "Probably won't be home until 8. "Want me to pick up dinner?" I asked. "No, I'll eat something there. Don't wait up if you're tired." The door closed with its usual soft click. I stood in the kitchen, holding my mug, looking at the space where she'd been. The house felt empty in a way it never had before. Not lonely, just empty. Like someone had scooped out the middle of the room and left the walls standing. I shook it off, poured the rest of the coffee down the sink, grabbed my inspection reports and headed out. The day was routine. A new HVAC installation in a commercial building downtown, a residential addition that failed to meet setback requirements, a restaurant kitchen that barely passed code after the owner promised to fix the grease trap by Friday. I wrote everything down in my neat block letters, initialed the forms, handed out violation notices with the same apologetic professionalism I'd perfected over 15 years. When I got home at 6, the house was dark. Jessica's car wasn't in the driveway. I made myself a sandwich, watched part of a documentary about infrastructure failures, fell asleep on the couch with the TV still on. She came home at 9:40. I heard the door, heard her shoes on the hardwood, heard the soft exhale she made when she dropped her bag on the chair in the entryway. "Hey," she called out. "Hey," I called back. She appeared in the doorway, backlit by the hall light. Her ponytail was loose. Her blazer was draped over her arm instead of being worn. She looked tired. "How was the meeting?" I asked. "Long, tedious, the usual." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I'm going to shower and crash." "Want me to make you something?" "Already ate." She disappeared down the hall. I heard the bathroom door close, heard the water start, heard my own breathing in the silence that followed. That was the first night. The second night was a week later. Same pattern. Late meeting, home after 9, tired smile, quick shower, asleep before I could ask her about her day. The third night was 2 weeks after that. By the fourth night, I was paying attention. Not because I suspected anything, not yet, but because patterns are my job. I inspect buildings for structural integrity. I look for signs of stress, wear, failure, cracks in the foundation, warped beams, compromised joints. It's all about patterns. Jessica's pattern had changed. She used to text me during the day, random things. A funny thing, a student said. A complaint about the vending machine being out of her favorite granola bars. A photo of a dog she saw on her lunch break. The text stopped. She used to ask me about my day, actually listen when I told her about the guy who tried to bribe me to overlook a major electrical violation, or the woman who burst into tears when I had to red tag her rental property. She stopped asking. She used to sit next to me on the couch in the evenings, her feet tucked under her, her head on my shoulder while we watched whatever show we were binge-watching that month. She stopped sitting next to me. I'm not stupid. I know what it looks like when someone checks out of a relationship. I've seen it happen to friends, co-workers, my own parents, though they stayed together out of some misguided sense of obligation until my dad passed and my mom finally admitted she'd been unhappy for 20 years. But I didn't want to be that guy. The suspicious husband, the paranoid fool who sees infidelity in every late night and unanswered text. So I waited, watched, took notes in my head the way I take notes on inspection reports. Jessica started wearing perfume to work. She'd never done that before, said it gave her headaches, but now she smelled like something expensive and floral that I didn't recognize. She started going to the gym. We had a membership we never used, one of those January resolutions that fizzled by March, but suddenly she was going 3 times a week, coming home energized instead of exhausted. She bought new clothes, nothing dramatic, just nicer, a little more fitted, a little more deliberate, and she smiled at her phone. That was the thing that got me, the little smile, the one that crept onto her face when she thought I wasn't looking, the one that disappeared the moment she realized I might see. I didn't say anything. I'm good at not saying things. It's a skill you develop when your job involves telling people their life's work doesn't meet code. You learn to observe, to document, to wait for the right moment. The right moment came on a Tuesday. Jessica had another late meeting. She texted me at 6 to say she'd be home by 9. I left work early, told my supervisor I had a migraine, drove home, parked my truck 2 blocks away, walked back to the house, let myself in through the side door. I wasn't planning to snoop. I wasn't planning anything. I just wanted to be home, to sit in my own house, to think. But her laptop was open on the kitchen table. I'm not proud of what I did next. I'm not going to pretend I had some moral justification. I just looked. That's all. I looked at the screen. Her email was open. Most of it was work-related. Meeting minutes, student progress reports, a thread about the school's new anti-bullying policy. And then I saw it. A name I didn't recognize. Tyler. The subject line was blank. The email was short. Can't wait to see you tonight. Same place? Her response? Yes. 7:30. I checked the timestamp. 2 hours ago. My hands were shaking. I closed the laptop, walked to the living room, sat down on the couch, stared at the wall. The clock on the cable box said 6:47. I could call her, confront her, demand an explanation, but I didn't. Because I'm not that guy. The guy who makes a scene, the guy who lets emotion override logic. I'm the guy who documents, who builds a case, who waits until all the evidence is in before making a judgment. So I waited. At 9:23, the door opened. Jessica came in, her hair perfect, her smile bright. Hey, she said, how was your day? I looked at her, really looked at her, saw the flush in her cheeks, the brightness in her eyes, the way she held herself like someone who'd just won something. Fine, I said. Yours? Exhausting, but productive. She dropped her bag, stretched. I'm going to take a bath. Long day. Sure, I said. She disappeared down the hall. I heard the water start, heard her humming softly to herself. I sat there in the dark, listening to my wife hum a song I didn't recognize, and realized that the coffee hadn't tasted different that morning 3 months ago. It had tasted exactly the same. I was the one who'd changed. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay there next to Jessica, listening to her breathe. She slept soundly, peacefully, the way people sleep when they have nothing to feel guilty about, or maybe the way people sleep when they've made peace with their choices. By morning, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to hire a private investigator. I wasn't going to install tracking software or check her phone records or any of that TV drama nonsense. I was going to do what I do best. Observe, document, wait. Building inspection teaches you patience. You don't tear down a wall the moment you see a crack. You monitor it, measure it. Come back in a month to see if it's grown. Some cracks are cosmetic, some are catastrophic. But you can't tell the difference until you've watched them long enough. Jessica was a crack in my foundation. I needed to know how deep it went. Wednesday morning, she left for work at 7:15, same as always. I left at 7:30. But instead of driving to my first inspection site, I drove to the high school where she worked. I parked across the street, 3 cars down from the main entrance, close enough to see, far enough not to be noticed. She arrived at 7:51, walked into the building with 2 other teachers, disappeared inside. I waited until 8:15, then drove to my actual job site. Spent the morning inspecting a commercial kitchen expansion. Failed it for inadequate ventilation. Had lunch at a diner where the waitress called everyone honey and the coffee tasted like burnt rubber. At 3:45, I was parked across from the high school again. School let out at 3:30. By 4 on, most of the cars were gone. Jessica's was still there, silver Honda Accord, same one she'd been driving for 6 years. Nothing special about it, reliable, practical, like our marriage was supposed to be. At 4:47, she came out, alone, walked to her car, drove away. I followed. Not close, not obvious. Just followed. 3 cars back, sometimes 4. The way you're supposed to when you don't want to be seen. She drove to the gym. I parked at the far end of the lot, watched her go inside. She was wearing workout clothes under her blazer, had a gym bag over her shoulder. I sat in my truck for an hour, listened to a podcast about the collapse of a bridge in Pennsylvania, took notes on my phone about a railing violation I'd noticed at a property earlier that week. At 6:03, she came out, hair wet, skin glowing, smiling at her phone. She got in her car, drove home. I waited 10 minutes, then drove home myself. When I walked in, she was in the kitchen, making a salad. "Hey," she said. "How was work?" "Boring," I said. "You?" "Same, but I got a good workout in." "That's good." We ate dinner together, watched an episode of a show she liked. She fell asleep on the couch at 9. I carried her to bed, tucked her in, went back to the living room and stared at the ceiling until dawn. Thursday was the same. Work, school, gym, home. Friday was the same. Saturday was different. Jessica said she was meeting her friend Lauren for brunch. Lauren was her college roommate, lived 2 hours away. They saw each other maybe twice a year. I said that sounded nice. She left at 10. I followed. She didn't drive to Lauren's favorite brunch spot. She drove to a coffee shop downtown, the kind with exposed brick walls and Edison bulbs and baristas with carefully curated facial hair. I parked a block away, walked past the front window, glanced inside. She was sitting at a corner table, across from a man. He was younger than me, maybe mid-30s. Fit. Wearing a flannel shirt rolled up to the elbows. The kind of guy who probably restored furniture in his spare time or brewed his own kombucha. They were laughing. I kept walking, circled the block, came back, sat on a bench across the street, pretended to check my phone. They talked for an hour. She leaned forward when he spoke, touched his hand once, smiled that smile. The one I hadn't seen in months. When they stood up to leave, she hugged him. Not a friendly hug. A long one. The kind that means something. He walked one direction. She walked the other. Got in her car. Drove home. I got there 10 minutes before she did. Was sitting on the couch when she came in. "How was brunch?" I asked. "Great. Lauren says hi." "Tell her I said hi back." "Will do." She went upstairs to change. I sat there, my hands clenched so tight my knuckles went white. That night, I started a document on my laptop. A spreadsheet, dates, times, locations, observations, everything organized, everything documented. I titled it Foundation Assessment, because that's what this was. I was assessing the structural integrity of my marriage, looking for the point of failure, the moment when stability gave way to collapse. Sunday, she said she was going to Target, needed to pick up some things for school. I said I'd come with her. She hesitated, just for a second, but I saw it. "Actually, I'm also meeting my friend Carla there. We're going to grab coffee after. Might be boring for you." "No problem," I said. "I've got some paperwork to catch up on anyway." She left at 1. I didn't follow this time. I stayed home, opened her laptop. She hadn't logged out of her email. I scrolled through her inbox. Most of it was junk, school newsletters, Amazon confirmations, credit card statements, and then I found them. The emails with Tyler. There weren't many. They were careful, vague, but the meaning was clear. "Can't stop thinking about yesterday. Same place, same time? You make me feel alive again." I read them all, took screenshots, saved them to a folder on my phone, then I closed the laptop, went to the kitchen, made myself a sandwich I couldn't eat. Jessica came home at 4, cheerful, relaxed, carrying a Target bag with nothing in it but a pack of pens and a candle. "How was your afternoon?" she asked. "Productive," I said. That night I updated my spreadsheet, added the emails, cross-referenced dates and times. Patterns don't lie. Jessica was having an affair, had been for at least 2 months, maybe longer. The question wasn't whether. The question was what I was going to do about it. Some men would have confronted her immediately, demanded answers, thrown her out. But I'm not some men. I'm the guy who waits until the building collapses before declaring it unsafe. I'm the guy who documents every crack, every weakness, every failure point. Because when the time comes to present my findings, I want the evidence to be undeniable. I want her to have no defense, no excuse, no way to twist the truth. So I waited. Monday, I followed her to work, then to the gym, then home. Tuesday, same thing. Wednesday, she had another late meeting. She texted me at 6 to say she'd be home by 9. This time, I was ready. I left work at 5, drove to the high school, parked 3 blocks away, walked to the parking lot. Her car was there. So was a blue pickup truck I didn't recognize. I walked to the building, looked through the windows. Most of the lights were off. The place was nearly empty. I tried the main door. Locked. I walked around to the side entrance. It was propped open with a brick, probably a janitor taking a smoke break. I went inside, walked down the empty hallway. My footsteps echoed. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. I found her office. Third door on the left. The nameplate read, J. Patterson, School Counselor. The door was closed, but I could hear voices inside. Laughter. I stood there for a moment, hand on the doorknob, heart pounding. Then I turned around, walked back down the hallway, out the side door, to my truck. I didn't need to see it. I already knew. The spreadsheet was enough. The emails were enough. The lies were enough. I drove home, made myself dinner, watched TV, went to bed. At 9:38, Jessica came home. "Hey," she said, dropping her bag by the door. "Hey," I said. "How was your day?" "Fine. Yours?" "Long." She went to take a shower. I stayed on the couch, staring at the screen without seeing it. The documentary I was watching was about a building that collapsed in Miami. 43 people gone. All because someone missed a crack in the foundation during inspection. The narrator said the crack had been there for years, growing, spreading, waiting. Nobody noticed until it was too late. I thought about Jessica, about Tyler, about the crack that had been growing in my marriage while I was too blind to see it. But I saw it now, and I wasn't going to wait for it to collapse on its own. I was going to bring it down myself. The confrontation happened on a Thursday, 2 weeks after I'd confirmed everything. 2 weeks of watching her lie to my face, 2 weeks of pretending everything was fine while my insides turned to concrete. I chose Thursday because it was deliberate. Not Monday when emotions run hot. Not Friday when the weekend looms as an escape. Thursday, middle of the week. Nowhere to run. She came home at 6. No late meeting, no gym, just work. She seemed lighter lately. Happier. Like carrying the weight of her secret was somehow freeing instead of crushing. "I'm making pasta," I said when she walked in. "Your favorite." She smiled. "You're sweet, thank you." We ate together at the kitchen table, talked about nothing, her difficult student, my failed inspection, the weather forecast for the weekend. When we finished, she started to clear the plates. "Leave them," I said. "I want to talk to you about something." She paused, just for a second, that flicker of awareness. Then she sat back down. "Okay," she said. "What's up?" I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, set it on the table between us. "I know," I said. Her face didn't change. "Know what?" "About Tyler." The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear the refrigerator humming, the clock ticking on the wall, my own heartbeat in my ears. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said finally. I turned my phone toward her, pulled up the screenshot of one of the emails. She looked at it, then at me, then back at it. "You went through my email?" Her voice was calm. Too calm. "You had an affair," I said. "We're not going to debate who violated whose trust here." She leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms, studied me like I was a puzzle she was trying to solve. "How long have you known?" she asked. "Long enough." "And you didn't say anything?" "I wanted to be sure." She nodded slowly. "So now you're sure. What do you want me to say?" "I want you to tell me why." She was quiet for a moment. Then she uncrossed her arms, leaned forward, looked me straight in the eye. "Because I was bored," she said. "Because we've been together for 8 years and we've become roommates. Because you're safe and predictable and I needed something more." "Something more," I repeated. "Yes, something that makes me feel alive, something exciting." "So you chose to cheat instead of talking to me about it." "I tried talking to you," she said, her voice rising slightly. "I tried, but you're always working or watching TV or too tired. When was the last time we did anything spontaneous? When was the last time you surprised me?" "When was the last time you gave me a chance?" I said. She looked away. "This isn't just about me. You checked out too. You just didn't notice because you were too comfortable. So this is my fault?" "I didn't say that. But you're implying it," she sighed. "I'm saying we both made mistakes. I'm saying marriages fall apart sometimes. I'm saying maybe this is for the best." "For the best," I echoed. "Yes, maybe we're not right for each other anymore. Maybe we've grown apart. Maybe it's time to admit that and move on." I stared at her. This woman I'd loved for 8 years. This woman who'd promised to be faithful. Who'd stood next to me in front of everyone we knew and said words that apparently meant nothing. You're right, I said quietly. She blinked. What? You're right. Maybe it's time to move on. So you want a divorce? I want honesty, I said. But since that seems to be in short supply, yes, a divorce works. She nodded. Okay, we can figure out the details. Be mature about this. Mature, I said. Right. She reached across the table, put her hand on mine. I'm sorry I hurt you. I really am. But maybe this is what we both need, a fresh start. I pulled my hand away. Is Tyler giving you a fresh start? He has nothing to do with this. He has everything to do with this. He's just a person I met, someone who makes me happy, that's all. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because the alternative was breaking something. You know what the worst part is? I said. It's not that you cheated, it's that you think you're the victim here. You think you deserve happiness at any cost, even if that cost is me. You deserve happiness too, she said, just not with me. I stood up. You're right about that. I walked out of the kitchen, went to the bedroom, started pulling clothes out of her dresser. What are you doing? She asked from the doorway. Packing, I said. You're leaving? No, I said. You are. This is my house, too. And I'm asking you to leave it, tonight. You can't just kick me out. I'm not kicking you out. I'm strongly suggesting you go stay somewhere else while we figure this out. With Tyler, maybe. Since he makes you so happy. Her face hardened. You're being childish. I'm being practical. One of us needs to leave, and since you're the one who decided our marriage was boring, it should be you. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone, dialed, walked into the hallway. I kept packing. Shoved her clothes into a suitcase, her toiletries into a bag, everything methodical, everything deliberate. She came back 15 minutes later. I called my sister. I'm staying with her tonight. But this isn't over. I know, I said. She grabbed the suitcase, the bag, stood in the doorway looking at me. For what it's worth, she said, I did love you. Once? Once isn't enough, I said. She left. I heard the front door close, heard her car start, heard the sound of her driving away. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. It was done. The confrontation I'd been building toward for weeks, and now that it was over, I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a cold, empty clarity. I pulled out my phone, opened my spreadsheet, added a new column, titled it Next Steps. Because this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Jessica thought she could walk away clean, start fresh, move on like our 8 years together were just a rough draft she could revise. But she was wrong. I wasn't going to let her rewrite history. I wasn't going to be the chapter she skipped. I was going to be the ending she never saw coming. The next day, I called in sick to work, told my supervisor I had a stomach bug. He didn't question it. I never called in sick. I spent the morning making calls, a divorce attorney, a real estate agent, a locksmith. By noon, the locks were changed. By afternoon, I had a consultation scheduled with a lawyer. By evening, I had a plan. Jessica called me at 7. We need to talk, she said. I agree, I said. Can I come over? No. Why not? Because the locks are changed. Silence. You changed the locks? Her voice was tight. It's my house, I said. I have that right. It's our house. Not anymore. You can't do this. I just did. I'm calling my lawyer. Good. Give them my lawyer's number while you're at it. I hung up. She called back immediately. I didn't answer. She called 3 more times. I silenced my phone. That night, I sat in the empty house and felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Control. Jessica had taken control from me, had made decisions that affected both of us without my input, had rewritten our story without asking if I wanted a new plot. Now I was taking it back, not through anger, not through violence, through strategy, through patience, through the same methodical approach I used to inspect buildings, find the weakness, document the failure, issue the notice. Jessica was structurally unsound, and I was going to make sure everyone knew it, but that would come later. First, I needed to deal with Tyler, because Tyler wasn't just a name in an email. He wasn't just an abstract threat. He was real, he was local, he existed, and he was going to learn what happens when you build your happiness on someone else's foundation. 1 week after Jessica left, I found him. It wasn't hard. Small town, smaller circles, a little asking around, a little online research. Tyler Bennett, personal trainer at the gym downtown, 34 years old, single, drove a blue pickup truck, the same gym Jessica had started going to 3 months ago. Coincidence? No. She'd been lying about a lot of things, but the gym wasn't one of them. She'd just left out the part about who she was meeting there. I drove to the gym at 6 on a Tuesday, parked across the street, watched the door. At 6:43, he came out. Tall, muscular, exactly the kind of guy you'd expect a bored housewife to fantasize about. He got in his truck, drove away. I followed. He lived in an apartment complex on the east side of town, second floor, Unit 204. I parked 2 buildings over, watched him go inside. His lights came on. I saw his shadow moving past the window. I sat there for an hour, just watching, just thinking. Then I drove home, updated my spreadsheet, added Tyler's address, his work schedule, his routine. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. That wasn't the plan. The plan was much simpler. I was going to make him scared. Not through violence, not through threats, but through presence. Through the slow, creeping realization that someone was watching. Someone knew. Someone was waiting. Because fear is more effective than anger. Fear lingers. Fear grows. And Tyler was going to be very, very afraid. But first, I needed to make one more call. I dialed the number Jessica had been texting. It rang 4 times. Hello? Tyler's voice. Confident, casual. I didn't say anything, just listened. Hello? He said again. Who is this? I hung up. Then I smiled, because the game had officially begun, and I always finish what I start. The following days moved like pieces on a chessboard, deliberate, calculated, each move setting up the next. I went back to work, acted normal. Nobody suspected anything. Why would they? I was the same guy who showed up on time, did his inspections, wrote his reports, the same guy who made small talk in the break room and remembered everyone's birthday. But inside, something had shifted, like a building settling after an earthquake. The structure looked the same, but the weight distribution had changed. Stress points had formed, and I was the only one who could see them. Jessica called me every other day, wanted to talk about the divorce, about splitting assets, about being reasonable. We can do this amicably, she said during one call. We don't need to make it ugly. It's already ugly, I said. You just don't want anyone to know it was your fault. There's no fault here. People grow apart. It happens. People grow apart when both of them stop trying. You stopped trying and started trying with someone else. That's not growing apart. That's abandoning ship. She sighed. I'm not going to keep defending myself to you. I've hired a lawyer. You should do the same if you haven't already. Already done, I said. Good. Then we can handle this like adults. Is Tyler handling you like an adult? I asked. Silence. Don't bring him into this, she said finally. He's already in it. He's been in it for months. He's none of your business. He made himself my business when he started seeing my wife. I'm not your wife anymore, she said. Legally, you still are. For now. She hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling nothing but that cold clarity again. The anger had burned itself out weeks ago. Now there was only purpose. That night, I drove past Tyler's apartment again. His truck was there, lights on in his window. I didn't stop, just drove past. Let him see my headlights. Let him feel the presence of someone watching. Presence is pressure, and pressure creates cracks. 2 days later, I went to the gym. Not Jessica's gym, Tyler's gym. I walked in at noon when I knew he'd be working. The girl at the front desk smiled. Can I help you? I'm interested in personal training, I said. Is anyone available? Let me check. She tapped on her computer. Tyler has an opening at 1. Would that work? Perfect, I said. She handed me a clipboard. Just fill this out. I filled out the form. Used my real name, my real information, because I wanted him to know exactly who I was. At 1 o'clock, he came out to meet me. Tall, muscular, smiling that easy smile that probably worked on everyone. Hi, I'm Tyler, he said, extending his hand. I shook it. Firm grip, eye contact. Nice to meet you. So you're interested in training? Thinking about it, I said. Need to get back in shape. Well, you came to the right place. Why don't we start with a fitness assessment, see where you're at? Sounds good? He led me into the gym, started showing me equipment, asking about my goals, my routine, all professional, all normal. I watched him. The way he moved, the way he talked, confident, easy, no guilt, no shame. You look familiar, he said after a few minutes. Have we met before? I don't think so, I said. Maybe I've just seen you around town. Maybe, I said. We finished the assessment. He gave me his pitch. Packages, prices, results guaranteed. I'll think about it, I said. No pressure, he said. But if you're serious about getting in shape, I can help you get there. I'm serious, I said. About a lot of things. Something flickered in his eyes, just for a second. Then it was gone. Great, he said. Just let me know. I walked out, drove home, updated my spreadsheet. Tyler didn't recognize me, not yet, but he would, because I wasn't done visiting him. 3 days later, I went back to his apartment. This time, I parked in the visitor spot directly below his unit. I sat there for an hour, watching his window, waiting. At 9, he came out, jogging gear, headphones in. He saw my truck, looked at it, looked at me. I didn't move, just sat there, looking back. He hesitated, then kept walking, started jogging down the street. I waited 5 minutes, then I got out, walked up to his truck, left a note under the windshield wiper. The note was simple, 1 sentence. I know who you are. Then I got back in my truck, drove home. The next morning, Jessica called me. Her voice was tight, angry. What did you do? She demanded. What are you talking about? Tyler said someone left a note on his truck, a threatening note. That's unfortunate, I said. Was it you? I don't know anyone named Tyler. Don't lie to me. I'm not lying. I'm just pointing out that I've never formally met the guy. So how could I leave him a note? This isn't funny. I'm not laughing. Stay away from him. Or what? Or I'll file a restraining order. On what grounds? I haven't done anything illegal. I haven't threatened anyone. I haven't even talked to him. The note? What note? Did I sign it? Did anyone see me leave it? Or is Tyler just paranoid because his conscience is finally catching up with him? She was quiet for a moment. You're being vindictive. I'm being realistic, I said. Actions have consequences. He should have thought about that before he decided to pursue a married woman. I pursued him. Then you're both guilty. I'm done with this conversation, she said. Good, so am I. I hung up. That afternoon I got a call from an unknown number. I answered. Is this the guy who left the note? A man's voice. Young, trying to sound tough. Who is this? I asked. You know who this is. Tyler, I said. Nice to finally talk to you properly. Silence. Then, what do you want? I don't want anything, I said. I just wanted you to know that I know. Know what? Everything. Where you work, where you live, what you did. I didn't do anything wrong. You're sleeping with my wife. That's something. She came to me. I didn't chase her. Does that make it better in your mind? She's an adult. She made her own choice. And you made yours. Now you get to live with the consequences. Are you threatening me? No, I said calmly. I'm just letting you know that I see you. I know you. And I'm not going away. He was quiet. I could hear him breathing. Could hear the fear underneath the bravado. Stay away from me, he said finally. Or what? You'll file a restraining order? On what grounds? I haven't done anything. I'm just making phone calls, leaving notes, existing in the same town. You're harassing me. I'm expressing my feelings. First Amendment right. This is crazy. No, I said. This is accountability. Get used to it. I hung up. Then I sat back and smiled. Because Tyler was scared now. I could hear it in his voice, that crack in his confidence, and fear was just the beginning. Over the next week, I made it my mission to exist in his peripheral vision. Not directly, not obviously, just there. I drove past his apartment twice a day, different times, different routes, always slow enough that he'd see me if he looked. I went to the gym 3 more times, didn't work out, just walked through, made eye contact, left. I called his phone from different numbers, hung up when he answered. Each action was small, legal, deniable, but together they built something bigger, a presence, a weight, a shadow that followed him everywhere. Jessica called me again, furious. He's filing a police report, she said. For what? Harassment. Tell him good luck with that. I haven't broken any laws. You're stalking him. I'm living my life. If our paths keep crossing, that's just coincidence. Nobody's going to believe that. Nobody has to, I said. The law doesn't care about belief. It cares about evidence. And there's no evidence of anything illegal. You're insane. No, I'm systematic. There's a difference. She hung up again. That night, I sat in my empty house and felt something close to satisfaction. Not happiness, not joy, just the cold satisfaction of a plan coming together. Tyler was cracking, Jessica was panicking, and I was in complete control. But I wasn't done, because fear was just step one. Step two was coming, and it was going to hurt. The lawyer's office smelled like old paper and expensive cologne, dark wood paneling, leather chairs, diplomas on the wall that probably cost more than my truck. Thomas Brennan specialized in family law. His website said he was aggressive but fair. His reviews said he was expensive but effective. I didn't care about the cost. I cared about results. "So," he said, folding his hands on the desk between us, "tell me what we're dealing with." I told him everything, the affair, the emails, the confrontation, Jessica moving out. He took notes on a yellow legal pad, nodded occasionally, didn't interrupt. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "Adultery doesn't mean as much as it used to in divorce proceedings," he said, "but it helps, especially if there are shared assets involved." "The house is in both our names," I said. "We bought it together 6 years ago." "Any children?" "No." "That simplifies things. What about retirement accounts, savings, investments?" "Joint savings account, about $40,000. My retirement account through the county. Her 403B through the school district." He wrote it all down. "How long were you married?" 8 years. "And you have documented proof of the affair?" I pulled out my phone, showed him the screenshots, the spreadsheet, the timeline. He raised an eyebrow. "You're thorough." "I'm a building inspector. Thoroughness is my job." "Well, it's going to help here. With this documentation, we can argue that she violated the marital contract. That might give us leverage in asset division." "I don't want leverage," I said. "I want her to leave with nothing." He looked at me over his reading glasses. "That's not realistic. California is a community property state. Anything acquired during the marriage gets split 50-50 unless there's a prenup or proof of financial misconduct." "She committed misconduct?" "Emotional misconduct, yes. But unless she was spending marital funds on the affair or hiding money, the court won't care." "So she gets half?" "Most likely, yes." I clenched my jaw. That doesn't seem fair. Fair and legal aren't always the same thing. He set down his pen. "Look, I understand you're angry. You have every right to be. But my job is to manage your expectations and get you the best outcome possible within the law. And the best outcome here is a clean split. You keep your retirement. She keeps hers. You split the house equity and the savings. You walk away free." "Free," I repeated, "with half of what I worked for." "Half of what you both worked for," he corrected. "Marriage is a partnership, even when it ends badly." I stood up. "Thank you for your time." "Wait." He stood too. "I know this isn't what you want to hear, but divorce is going to cost you, emotionally and financially. The question is whether you want to drag it out and make it cost more, or get it done and move on." "I'll think about it," I said. "One more thing." He handed me his card. "Whatever you're doing to the other man, stop. I don't know what it is, and I don't want to know. But if you get charged with harassment or stalking, it'll complicate everything. Judges don't look kindly on vindictive behavior." "I'm not doing anything illegal," I said. "Then keep it that way." I left his office and sat in my truck for 20 minutes, staring at the steering wheel, thinking. Brennan was right. The law wouldn't give me what I wanted. The law didn't care about betrayal or broken promises, or 8 years of my life wasted. The law only cared about assets and equity and clean divisions. But I didn't. I cared about making sure Jessica and Tyler understood what they'd done, making sure they felt the weight of their choices. And the law couldn't stop me from doing that. I drove to Jessica's sister's house, the one she'd been staying at since I kicked her out. Small bungalow in a neighborhood I'd never liked. Too many kids on bikes. Too many dogs barking. I parked across the street. Waited. At 4:30, Jessica came out. She was wearing her work clothes, carrying her laptop bag. She got in her car and drove away. I followed her, not close, just close enough. She drove to a coffee shop downtown, parked, went inside. 10 minutes later, Tyler's blue truck pulled into the lot. I watched him get out, watched him go inside, watched through the window as they sat down together at a corner table. They looked comfortable, relaxed, like they had nothing to hide anymore. Jessica leaned across the table, said something that made him laugh. He reached out and touched her hand. My hands tightened on the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. I pulled out my phone, took a photo, then another, then a video of them sitting there, holding hands, smiling like they'd won something. Then I drove away. That night, I created a new email address. Anonymous, untraceable. I attached the photos, sent them to the principal of Jessica's school with the subject line, "Thought you should know." I didn't write anything in the body of the email. Didn't need to. The pictures said everything. Then I sent the same photos to 3 other teachers at her school, people she worked with, people who'd probably shared coffee with her in the break room and asked about her marriage. I wasn't trying to get her fired, just trying to make sure everyone knew the truth, that the woman they thought was honest and professional had been lying for months, that she'd been meeting her lover while she was supposed to be working late, that she wasn't the person they thought she was. 2 days later, Jessica called me. She was crying. "What did you do?" she sobbed. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said calmly. "The principal called me into her office. Someone sent her pictures of me and Tyler." "That's unfortunate." "It was you. I know it was you." "You can't prove that." "Why would you do this? I could lose my job." "You should have thought about that before you started seeing him. Actions have consequences, Jessica. I'm just making sure you experience them." "This is harassment. This is accountability." "I'm getting a restraining order." "On what grounds?" "I haven't contacted you directly. I haven't threatened you. I just shared some information that I thought relevant parties should know." "You're ruining my life." "No," I said. "You did that yourself. I'm just making sure everyone else sees it." She hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling that cold satisfaction again. She wanted a fresh start. She wanted to move on like nothing happened. But I wasn't going to let her. I was going to make sure she carried the weight of what she'd done, make sure it followed her, haunted her, because that's what betrayal does. It leaves scars. And I was going to make sure hers were visible. The next morning, I went to work like normal, inspected a commercial renovation, failed it for improper electrical work, wrote my report, went home, but something had shifted inside me, some line I'd crossed without realizing it. I wasn't the good guy anymore, the patient husband, the understanding partner. I was something else now, something colder, harder. I was the villain of my own story, and I was okay with that. Because villains get things done. They don't wait for justice. They create it. That evening, I drove to Tyler's gym, parked in my usual spot across the street, waited. At 7, he came out, looked around nervously before getting in his truck. Good. He was scared. That was the point. I followed him home, watched him go inside, watched his lights come on. Then I got out of my truck, walked up to his door, knocked. I heard movement inside. Footsteps. The peephole darkened. "I know you're there," I said, calm, quiet. "Open the door." Silence. "I'm not going away," I said. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Your choice." More silence, then the sound of a chain sliding. The door opened 6 inches. Tyler stood there, one hand on the door frame. "What do you want?" "To talk." "We have nothing to talk about." "I disagree." "I'm calling the cops if you don't leave." "Go ahead. I'll wait right here." He stared at me. I stared back. "Fine," he said finally. "Say what you want to say, and then leave." "I want you to understand something," I said. "You think this is over. You think Jessica left me and now you two can ride off into the sunset. But that's not how this works. She left you because she was unhappy. That's not my fault. She left me because you gave her an option. You made yourself available. You pursued a married woman." "She pursued me," he said. "I didn't chase her." "Does that make you feel better, thinking you're not responsible?" "I'm not responsible for your marriage falling apart." "No," I said, "but you're responsible for what happens next." His face hardened. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm explaining reality to you. You made a choice. That choice has consequences, and I'm going to make sure you experience every single one of them." "You're crazy." "No, I'm focused. There's a difference." I turned and walked back to my truck. I got in, drove away. In my rearview mirror, I saw him standing in the doorway, watching me go. I smiled, because the fear in his eyes was real now. Not just worry, not just nervousness. Actual fear. And I was just getting started. The following week, I filed for divorce. Brennan drew up the papers. I signed them, paid the filing fee. Jessica was served at school. I wasn't there to see it, but I heard about it from a mutual acquaintance who worked in the district office. She'd been in the middle of a meeting with a parent. The process server walked in, handed her the envelope, walked out. Professional, public, humiliating, exactly what I wanted. She called me that night. "This is low," she said, her voice shaking with anger. "It's legal," I said. "You had me served at work, in front of a parent." "Where else would I have you served? You don't live here anymore." "You could have had them come to my sister's house." "Could have. Didn't." "You're doing this to hurt me." "I'm doing this to end our marriage. You're the one who decided it needed to end. I'm just following through. I wanted us to do this amicably. You lost that option when you started seeing Tyler." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "The school board is meeting next week. They're discussing my conduct. That's unfortunate. You did this. You sent those pictures. You took those pictures. I just shared them. I could lose my job. Then you should have been more careful. This is who you are now? Someone who destroys people? This is who you made me," I said. "You wanted honesty. Here it is. I'm not going to pretend everything's fine. I'm not going to let you walk away clean. You broke something. Now you get to live in the wreckage." She hung up. I sat there in the dark, feeling nothing but that cold clarity. She thought I'd be reasonable, thought I'd be the same predictable, patient man she'd married. But that man was gone. She'd destroyed him. And what was left was something she didn't recognize, something she should have been afraid of from the beginning. Over the next few days, I focused on work, tried to keep my mind occupied, inspected buildings, wrote reports, talked to contractors and property owners. But my thoughts kept drifting back to Tyler. He'd gone quiet, hadn't been to the gym as much. His truck stayed parked at his apartment most evenings. He was hiding. Good. But hiding wasn't enough. I wanted him to feel what I felt, the constant awareness that someone was watching, waiting, planning. I wanted him to understand that he'd made a choice, and that choice had a price. So I waited for the right moment. And on a Friday night, that moment came. Tyler's apartment complex had a communal laundry room on the first floor, coin-operated machines, flickering fluorescent lights, the kind of place people avoided after dark. I'd been watching his routine for 2 weeks. Every Friday night, like clockwork, he did laundry, usually around 9, when most people were out or settling in for the night. This Friday, I was ready. I parked 2 blocks away, walked to the complex, wore dark clothes, a baseball cap, nothing distinctive, nothing memorable. At 8:57, Tyler came down with his laundry basket, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, headphones in, oblivious. He loaded 2 machines, added detergent, fed quarters into the slots, sat down on the bench to wait. I waited too, across the parking lot, in the shadows between 2 buildings. 20 minutes later, he got up to transfer his clothes to the dryers, turned his back to the door. I walked in. He heard the door, turned around, saw me. The color drained from his face. "We need to talk," I said. "Get out." His voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the fear underneath. "In a minute." I closed the door behind me, stood in front of it. "I'll scream." "Go ahead. Nobody's going to hear you over the machines." He looked at the washing machines, the dryers, all running, all loud. "What do you want?" he asked. "I want you to understand something," I said. "You think you're safe. You think because Jessica left me, you won. But you didn't win anything. You just made yourself a target. I didn't do anything wrong. You pursued a married woman. You slept with her while she was still living with me. You destroyed my marriage. She destroyed your marriage, not me." I stepped closer. He stepped back. "You keep telling yourself that," I said. "Keep pretending you're innocent. But we both know the truth. You saw an opportunity and you took it. Didn't care who you hurt. Didn't care what you destroyed. She wanted out. She was unhappy. I didn't make her cheat. She chose to. And you chose to help her, so now you get to deal with the consequences." "What consequences?" His voice rising. "You've been following me, harassing me, leaving notes, calling me. This is stalking. I could have you arrested." "But you won't," I said calmly. "Because you know I haven't technically done anything illegal. I haven't threatened you, haven't touched you. I've just been existing in the same spaces you do. And that's not a crime. You're insane. No, I'm committed. There's a difference." He looked at the door behind me, calculated his chances. "Don't," I said. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to make sure you understand that I'm not going away. That every time you look over your shoulder, I might be there. Every time your phone rings, it might be me. Every time you think you're safe, you're not. This is crazy. This is justice. You took something from me. Now I'm taking something from you." "What? What are you taking?" "Your peace of mind," I said. "Your sense of safety. Your comfortable little life where you can pursue other men's wives without consequence." He lunged toward the door. I sidestepped. He crashed into the washing machine, stumbled, caught himself. "Next time you see Jessica," I said, "tell her I said hello." Then I opened the door, walked out, disappeared into the night. Behind me, I heard him yelling, cursing, but his voice was shaking. I walked back to my truck, got in, drove home. My heart was pounding, adrenaline coursing through my veins. But I felt alive for the first time in months. Not happy, not satisfied, but alive. Like I'd finally stopped being a passive observer in my own life and started taking control. The next day, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The message was from a police officer, detective something, asking me to call back regarding an incident report. I called Brennan instead. "They got a police report?" he asked. "Sounds like it." "What happened?" "Nothing. I talked to him, that's all." "Where?" "His apartment building, the laundry room." Brennan sighed. "Did you threaten him?" "No." "Did you touch him?" "No." "Did you block his exit?" "I stood near the door. That's not illegal." "It is if he felt trapped. He's free to feel however he wants. I didn't do anything wrong." "Listen to me very carefully," Brennan said. "You need to stop. Whatever you're doing, whatever game you're playing, it ends now. If they charge you with harassment or stalking, it's going to complicate the divorce. It's going to cost you money, and it might cost you worse than that." "I understand." "Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you're letting your anger control you, and that's a mistake." "I'm not angry," I said. "I'm focused." "Focused on what? Revenge? That's not going to make you feel better." "It already has." He was quiet for a moment. "Call the detective back. Be polite. Be honest. Tell them you went to talk to him, nothing more. Don't elaborate. Don't volunteer information. And then stop contacting him. Completely. No more visits, no more calls, no more anything." "Fine," I said. "I'm serious. This is a line you don't want to cross." "I heard you." I hung up, sat there for a minute, then called the detective back. She was professional, calm, asked me what happened at the laundry room. I told her, kept it simple. I went to talk to him, we talked, I left. No threats, no violence, just a conversation. "He says you've been following him," she said. "I've seen him around town. It's a small place." "He says you've been calling him." "I called him once, to talk about the situation with my wife. That's not illegal." "He says you left a note on his truck." "I don't know anything about that." "So you deny it?" "I'm saying I don't know what he's talking about." She was quiet. I could hear her writing something down. "Mr. Patterson," she said finally, "I understand you're going through a difficult time. Divorce is hard. Infidelity is painful. But you need to stay away from this man. If you keep contacting him, he can get a restraining order. And if you violate that, you'll be arrested. Do you understand?" "I understand," I said. "Good. I'm going to file this report, but I'm not pursuing charges at this time. Consider this a warning." "Thank you," I said. "And Mr. Patterson? Whatever you think you're accomplishing here, it's not worth it. Let it go. Move on." "I'll keep that in mind," I said. She hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. Brennan was right. The detective was right. I was crossing a line. But I didn't care. Because Tyler deserved everything I was doing to him. And more. And I wasn't done yet. Over the next week, I stayed away from Tyler. Didn't drive by his apartment, didn't go to the gym, didn't call. But I was still watching. I hired someone to do it for me. Not a private investigator, too expensive, too official. Just a guy I knew from work, a contractor who owed me a favor. I'd overlooked a minor code violation on one of his projects. He remembered. I gave him Tyler's address, told him I wanted to know his schedule, where he went, who he saw. Nothing invasive, just basic surveillance. He agreed. Cash payment. No questions asked. 3 days later, he sent me a text with a list of times and locations. Tyler's routine was predictable. Work at the gym, home at night, groceries on Wednesday, meeting Jessica on Tuesday and Thursday evenings at various locations. The Tuesday meeting was at her sister's house. The Thursday meeting was at a park downtown. I focused on Thursday, because a park was public, open, easy to observe without being noticed. That Thursday, I drove to the park at 6, found a bench with a clear view of the parking lot, sat down, pretended to read a book. At 6:43, Tyler's truck pulled in. He got out, walked to the picnic area. 5 minutes later, Jessica's car arrived. She got out. They hugged, sat down at a picnic table. I watched them talk, laugh, hold hands. Watched Tyler lean in and say something that made Jessica smile. Watched her look at him the way she used to look at me. My jaw clenched. My hands tightened on the book. But I didn't move, didn't approach, just watched. After 30 minutes, they stood up, hugged again, got in their separate cars, drove away. I sat there for another 10 minutes, staring at the empty picnic table. Then I pulled out my phone, opened a new email draft, attached the photos I'd taken earlier, the ones from the coffee shop, the ones showing them together, holding hands, smiling, and I sent them to Tyler's boss at the gym, with a subject line. Your employee is involved with a married woman. I didn't expect it to get him fired, but I expected it to make his life uncomfortable, to make him explain himself, defend himself, feel the same scrutiny I'd felt when I discovered the affair, because accountability goes both ways. And if Jessica and Tyler wanted to build their relationship on the ruins of mine, they were going to do it under a microscope. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. You need to stop. This isn't going to end well for you. I knew it was Tyler. The tone, the desperation. I texted back, It's already not ending well for me. Why should you get to walk away unscathed? No response. I smiled, put my phone away, went to bed. For the first time in weeks, I slept soundly. The divorce was moving forward, slowly, painfully, but moving. Jessica's lawyer was aggressive, filed motions for temporary support, for exclusive use of the house, for half of everything. Brennan fought back, presented the evidence of the affair, argued that Jessica had violated the marital contract, demanded that she forfeit her claim to certain assets. The judge wasn't impressed, said infidelity was irrelevant to asset division, said California law was clear, 50-50 split, no exceptions. I sat in that courtroom and felt my blood pressure rising. 8 years of shared bills and joint decisions and building a life together, and she got half. Despite the lying, despite the cheating, despite everything. It's not fair, I said to Brennan afterward. No, he agreed, but it's legal. So that's it? She destroys our marriage and walks away with half? That's how community property works. I'm sorry. I know it's not what you want to hear. I drove home in silence, parked in the driveway, sat there staring at the house I was going to have to sell because neither of us could afford to buy the other out. Everything I'd built, everything I'd worked for, cut in half because Jessica decided she was bored. The anger I'd been holding back for weeks came flooding in. Not cold anymore, not calculated, hot, raw, overwhelming. I got out of the truck, walked inside, went straight to the garage, and I started breaking things. Old furniture, boxes of her stuff she'd left behind, picture frames, wedding photos. I threw them against the wall, smashed them with a hammer, tore them apart with my bare hands. When I was done, the garage looked like a disaster zone. Broken glass, splintered wood, shredded photos, and I felt nothing. Not better, not worse, just empty. I swept up the mess, bagged it, took it to the curb. Then I went inside, showered, sat on the couch. My phone buzzed, a text from Jessica. We need to talk? About the house? I stared at the message. Didn't respond. She texted again. I know you're angry, but we have to figure this out. I typed, There's nothing to figure out. The judge made her decision, we sell, we split, we're done. I don't want to sell. Neither do I, but we can't afford to keep it. Maybe one of us could buy the other out. With what money? Neither of us has that kind of cash. Tyler said he could help. I read that message 3 times. Each time, my anger grew. Tyler is not buying my house, I typed. Our house, and he's trying to help. He's trying to replace me, tell him to stay out of it. You don't get to tell him what to do. I get to tell you that I'm not selling our house to your boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend. Then what is he? She didn't respond. I put my phone down, walked to the kitchen, opened the cabinet where I kept the whiskey, poured myself 3 fingers, drank it in 1 swallow. Then I poured another. The alcohol burned, going down, settled in my stomach like a stone. I wasn't a drinker, never had been. But tonight, I needed something to dull the edges, something to quiet the voice in my head that kept saying I'd lost everything. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Jessica. Can we please just talk, face to face? I typed. No. Why not? Because I don't trust myself around you right now. Are you threatening me? I'm being honest. You wanted honesty. Here it is. I'm so angry I can barely think straight. And if I see you right now, I'm going to say things I can't take back. You've already said plenty. Not everything. Not yet. She stopped texting. I poured another drink, sat there in the dark kitchen, stared at the wall. The house was so quiet, so empty. This was supposed to be our home, our life, our future, and she'd thrown it away like it meant nothing. My phone rang. I ignored it. Rang again. I looked at the screen. Brennan. I answered. What? I just got a call from Jessica's lawyer. She's willing to negotiate on the house. I don't care. You should care. She's offering to let you keep it if you waive your claim to her retirement account. That's not a fair trade. Actually, it might be. Your retirement account is worth more than hers, and the house has equity, but it also has a mortgage. If you can afford the payments, it's a decent deal. I don't want her charity. It's not charity, it's negotiation. Think about it. You keep the house. She walks away, clean break. I was quiet, thinking. The house was the only thing I had left that felt like mine, that felt like home. If I sold it, I'd have nothing. No memories, no foundation, nothing to rebuild on. What would I have to do? I asked. Sign a settlement agreement. Waive your claim to her retirement. Let her keep her car. Split the savings. You get the house and your retirement. And she walks away free. She doesn't have to answer for the affair. She doesn't have to explain herself. She just gets to leave. Yes. I took a breath. Let it out slowly. Fine, I said. Draw up the papers. You're sure? No, but I don't have a better option. I'll have them ready by Monday. He hung up. I sat there with my drink, feeling like I'd just lost something else, some piece of myself I couldn't get back. But at least I'd have the house. At least I'd have something. That weekend, I didn't leave the house, didn't shower, didn't eat much, just sat there, thinking, planning. Because even though the divorce was almost over, I wasn't done with Jessica or Tyler. They thought they could just move on, build their new life, forget about the wreckage they'd left behind. But I wasn't going to let them. I was going to make sure they remembered, every day, what they'd done. On Sunday night, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Tyler. We need to talk. I stared at the message. Considered deleting it. But curiosity got the better of me. About what? I typed. About ending this. About moving forward. There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is. Jessica told me about the house, about the settlement. She's ready to move on. I think you should too. You think I should move on? Yes. From my wife cheating on me. From my marriage ending. From 8 years of my life being wasted. It wasn't wasted. You had good years together. But it's over now. Holding on to anger isn't going to change that. I laughed. Bitter. Cold. You want to give me life advice? You, the guy who slept with another man's wife? I didn't destroy your marriage. It was already broken. Keep telling yourself that. Look, I get that you're angry, but you need to let this go. For your own sake. For my own sake, or for yours. Silence. I know what you're doing, I typed. You're scared. You want me to back off so you can feel safe again. But that's not going to happen. I'm not scared of you. Yes, you are. I can hear it in your voice. See it in your face. You're terrified that I'm going to keep coming. That I'm not going to stop until you've paid for what you did. What I did? I fell in love with someone. That's not a crime. No, but it has consequences, and you're going to experience all of them. Is that a threat? It's a promise. I blocked the number, threw my phone across the room. Then I sat there, breathing hard, hands shaking. Tyler wanted to talk, wanted to negotiate, wanted peace. But peace was the last thing I was going to give him. Because this wasn't over. Not even close. On Monday, I signed the settlement agreement. Brennan walked me through every page, every clause, every waiver. When I finished, he looked at me. This is it. Once this is filed, the marriage is legally over. Good, I said. Are you okay? No, but I will be. He handed me a copy of the agreement. You did the right thing, taking the house, moving forward. If you say so. I drove home, walked inside, looked around at the empty rooms, my house now, just mine. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, it felt like a tomb. That night, I started planning. Not the divorce. That was done, not the legal stuff. That was over. The revenge. Real revenge. The kind that would make Jessica and Tyler understand exactly what they'd taken from me. I opened my laptop, started researching Tyler's business, his gym, his clients, his reputation, Jessica's job, her colleagues, her standing in the community. I made notes, drew connections, identified weaknesses, because I wasn't just going to hurt them emotionally. I was going to hurt them where they lived, where they worked, where they felt safe. I was going to dismantle their lives the way they dismantled mine, piece by piece, until there was nothing left. The research took me 3 days. I worked methodically, documented everything, built a complete profile of their lives. Tyler worked at Fitness First, a mid-sized gym downtown. He'd been there 2 years, had about 30 regular clients, posted regularly on social media about fitness tips and transformation stories. His online presence was professional, clean, carefully curated, but people are never just what they show online. I started digging deeper, found his old social media accounts, found photos from 5 years ago, found a different gym, a different city, found a lawsuit, client injury, negligence claim, settled out of court. I downloaded every document I could find, every public record, every news article. Then I moved on to Jessica. Her professional reputation was solid. 8 years at the same school, good reviews from parents, awards for her counseling program, but she'd made enemies too. I found them through mutual connections, through casual conversations with people who worked in the district. A parent who'd filed a complaint 2 years ago said Jessica had been dismissive of her concerns about bullying. A teacher who'd applied for the head counselor position lost out to Jessica, still bitter about it. A former student who'd posted online about how Jessica had failed to help during a crisis. All small things, all buried, all forgotten. But I remembered. I collected names, phone numbers, email addresses, built a database of people who might have grievances against Jessica. Not because I wanted to weaponize them, not yet, but because information is leverage, and I needed all the leverage I could get. On Thursday, I went to the gym where Tyler worked. Not to confront him, just to observe. I paid for a day pass, worked out on the treadmill, watched him train clients. He was good at his job, patient, encouraging, professional. His clients liked him, trusted him. Several of them were women, middle-aged, married, looking for someone to pay attention to them. I wondered how many of them he'd slept with. I wondered if Jessica knew. After my workout, I approached the front desk, talked to the manager, said I was interested in personal training. "Tyler's great," she said. "Very experienced, very professional." "Has he been here long?" "About 2 years." "Where'd he work before?" "I think somewhere in Arizona." "Why?" "Just curious. I like to know who I'm working with." She smiled. "Well, you're in good hands with Tyler." I thanked her. Left. That night, I sent an anonymous email to the gym's corporate office, attached the documents about the lawsuit in Arizona, asked if they were aware of their trainer's history. I didn't expect immediate results. Corporate bureaucracy moves slowly, but I expected questions, investigations, uncomfortable conversations, and that was enough. The next day, I focused on Jessica's school, drove past it during lunch, watched students flood the parking lot, watched Jessica stand outside her office door talking to a colleague. She looked tired, thinner than before. The stress was showing. Good. I waited until the parking lot cleared. Then I called the school's main office. "Hi," I said. "I'm trying to reach Jessica Patterson. Is she available?" "She's in a meeting right now. Can I take a message?" "No, that's okay. I'll try her cell. Thanks." I hung up, made a note. She was in meetings more often lately, probably dealing with fallout from the photos I'd sent. That evening, I got a call from Brennan. "The settlement was filed today," he said. "Congratulations, you're officially divorced." "Thanks," I said flatly. "How are you holding up?" "Fine." "You sure? Because if you need to talk—" "I'm fine," I repeated. "Thanks for everything." "One more thing. Jessica's lawyer called, said Jessica wants to pick up some items from the house, personal items, clothes she left behind." "When?" "This weekend, Saturday morning. She asked if you could not be there." "It's my house now." "Technically, yes, but it would be a gesture of goodwill." "I'm not interested in goodwill." "I understand, but think about it. The divorce is final. There's no reason to keep fighting." "I'll think about it," I said. I hung up. Saturday morning. Jessica wanted to come to the house, wanted to collect her things, wanted to walk through the rooms where we'd built our life together and take what she wanted. I thought about saying no, about forcing her to arrange a police escort, about making it as difficult as possible. But then I had a better idea. I'd let her come, I'd be there. I'd watch her pack up her life and carry it away, and I'd make sure she understood exactly what she was leaving behind. Saturday morning arrived cold and gray. I woke early, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table waiting. At 9, I heard a car in the driveway. Looked out the window. Jessica's Honda. And behind it, Tyler's blue truck. Of course he came. Of course she brought him. They got out, walked to the front door. Jessica knocked. I opened it before the second knock. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi." She looked past me into the house. "Can we come in?" "He can wait in the car." Tyler stepped forward. "I'm just here to help carry boxes." "She doesn't need your help," I said. "It's fine," Jessica said quickly. "Tyler, just wait out here. I'll be quick." He looked at her, then at me, then nodded, walked back to his truck. Jessica came inside, stood in the entryway like a stranger. "I'll just get my things and go," she said. "Take your time." She walked down the hall toward the bedroom. I followed. She opened the closet, started pulling out clothes, folding them, placing them in a box she'd brought. I leaned against the doorframe, watching. "You don't have to stand there," she said without looking at me. "It's my house. I'll stand wherever I want." She stopped folding, turned to face me. "Can we not do this? Can we just be civil?" "Civil," I repeated. "You want civil, after everything." "I want to get my things and leave. That's all. With Tyler waiting outside, ready to help you move on, ready to play house with you in whatever apartment you're renting with money you got from our marriage." "That's not fair." "None of this is fair, Jessica. But here we are." She turned back to the closet, kept packing. I watched her go through drawers, through boxes, through the detritus of our life together. "You know what's funny?" I said. "You spent 8 years filling this house with your things, your clothes, your books, your decorations, and now you're taking it all away, like you were never here." "I was here," she said quietly. "For 8 years, I was here. But you weren't. Not really. Not toward the end. You were already gone, already planning your exit. I tried to make it work. You tried to have it both ways. You wanted the security of a marriage and the excitement of an affair. You wanted me to keep being your safety net while you jumped without one." She zipped up the box. "I'm not going to argue with you. Because you can't. Because deep down, you know I'm right." She picked up the box, walked toward the door. I followed her out. Watched her load the box into her trunk. Tyler got out of his truck. "Need help with anything else?" "A few more boxes," she said. They both came inside, started carrying out boxes, lamps, picture frames, a chair she'd bought at an estate sale. I stood on the porch, arms crossed, watching them empty the house of her presence. When they finished, Jessica came back one last time. "That's everything," she said. "Good." She hesitated. "I know you're angry. I know you hate me. But I hope someday you can move past this." "Move past it?" I said. "You think this is something I'm going to forget? Something I'm going to get over?" "I think you deserve to be happy, and holding on to anger isn't going to get you there." "I'll be happy when you understand what you took from me, when you feel a fraction of what I felt, when your perfect little life with Tyler falls apart and you're left with nothing." Her face hardened. "That's not going to happen." "We'll see." She walked back to her car, got in. Tyler got in his truck. They drove away. I stood there watching until they disappeared around the corner. Then I went inside, closed the door, looked around at the empty spaces where her things had been. The house felt bigger now, emptier, like parts of it had been carved out. But it was mine, all mine, and that meant I could do whatever I wanted with it. I walked to the bedroom, opened the closet, pulled out the one box Jessica had forgotten, a box of photos, old ones from before we were married, from when we first met, from when we were happy. I carried it to the living room, sat down on the floor, opened it. There were hundreds of photos, us at the beach, at concerts, at friends' weddings, smiling, laughing, young and stupid and in love. I looked at them one by one, remembered each moment, each day, each promise we'd made to each other. And then I started ripping them up, slowly at first, then faster, tearing each photo into smaller and smaller pieces. When I finished, the floor was covered in shredded memories, bits of faces and places and moments that didn't matter anymore. I gathered them all, threw them in the fireplace, lit a match, watched them burn. The flames were bright, hot. They consumed everything in minutes. And when the fire died down, there was nothing left but ash. I sat there staring at it, feeling nothing but that cold emptiness again. Jessica wanted me to move on, to let go, to be happy. But she didn't understand. I couldn't move on until they'd paid, until they understood that actions have consequences, until they felt what I felt. And that was going to take time, but I had nothing but time now. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "Stop. Please just stop." It was Tyler. I texted back. "Stop what?" Whatever you're planning, whatever you're doing, just stop. I'm not doing anything. You sent something to my gym. They're investigating me. They might fire me. That's unfortunate. This isn't a game. This is my career, my life. You should have thought about that before you destroyed mine. I didn't destroy your life. You're doing that yourself? No. I'm making sure you can't forget what you did, making sure you carry it with you everywhere you go. This is harassment. This is accountability. Learn the difference. I blocked the number. Then I smiled. Because it was working. Tyler was panicking. His world was starting to crack, and I was just getting started. The following week, I received notification from my bank. The joint savings account had been closed. Jessica had withdrawn her half. $20,000 gone. I'd expected it, but seeing the zeroed-out balance still stung. I called Brennan. Is this legal? Yes. The settlement agreement allowed her to take her share of the savings. So that's it. She walks away with $20,000 and no consequences. The consequence is that your marriage ended. That's consequence enough for most people. Not for me. I know. But legally, there's nothing more you can do. Legally, I repeated. Yes, legally. I hope you're not planning anything illegal. I'm not planning anything. Good, because you've already pushed things pretty far. Any further and you're looking at serious trouble. I understand. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're obsessed with revenge, and that never ends well. I'm not obsessed. I'm committed. Those are the same thing. No, they're not. Obsession is irrational. Commitment is purposeful. He sighed. Just be careful, please. I will. I hung up. Brennan was worried. The detective was warning me. Even my own lawyer thought I was going too far. But none of them understood. They hadn't lost what I lost, hadn't felt what I felt. They hadn't been betrayed by someone they trusted, hadn't watched their life fall apart while everyone told them to just move on. So I wasn't going to listen to them. I was going to finish what I started, and I was going to make sure Jessica and Tyler remembered me for the rest of their lives. 2 weeks after the divorce finalized, I got a call from my supervisor at work. We need to talk, he said. His voice was careful, professional, the kind of tone that means trouble. About what? I asked. Come to my office, now. I drove to the county building, parked, took the elevator to the 3rd floor, walked into his office. He was sitting behind his desk, hands folded. Next to him sat a woman from HR I'd seen but never spoken to. Close the door, he said. I closed it, sat down. We received a complaint, the HR woman said. She had gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, reading glasses on a chain, the kind of person who lived for procedure. What kind of complaint? I asked. From your ex-wife. She says you've been harassing her, and someone she knows. She says you've been sending inappropriate emails, following them, creating a hostile environment. I kept my face neutral. That's not true. She has documentation, emails that were sent to her workplace, photos, timestamps. I didn't send those. They came from anonymous accounts, but she believes they came from you. She can believe whatever she wants. That doesn't make it true. My supervisor leaned forward. Look, I don't know what's going on in your personal life, and frankly, I don't want to know. But if this continues, if there are more complaints, it could affect your employment. My personal life has nothing to do with my job. It does if it reflects poorly on the county, if it suggests you have issues with harassment or intimidation. We can't have that. I haven't done anything wrong. The HR woman adjusted her glasses. We're not saying you have. We're saying that allegations have been made, and we have to take them seriously. Consider this a verbal warning. Keep your personal matters separate from your professional life. Don't give anyone reason to question your judgment. Is that all? I asked. That's all, my supervisor said. For now? I stood up, walked out, got in my truck, sat there gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Jessica was fighting back now, not just crying, not just running to her lawyer. She was trying to destroy my career. She wanted to take everything from me, my marriage, my house, my peace of mind, and now my job. I pulled out my phone, called Brennan. They filed a complaint at my work, I said. Who did? Jessica said I've been harassing her. HR just gave me a warning. Did you explain that you haven't contacted her? I tried. They don't care. They said any more complaints could affect my employment. He was quiet for a moment. You need to stop. Whatever you're doing, it needs to end now. I'm not doing anything. Then someone is, and Jessica thinks it's you, which means legally it might as well be you. That's not fair. Fair doesn't matter. What matters is protecting yourself. If you lose your job, you lose everything, your pension, your benefits, your future. So I'm supposed to just let her win? You're supposed to move on, find a way to live your life that doesn't involve her. She's making that impossible. No, you're making it impossible by holding on to this and by letting it consume you. I hung up, sat there in the parking lot, watching people come and go. Normal people with normal problems, people who weren't trying to destroy each other. I envied them. That night, I sat in my empty house and thought about what I'd become. 6 months ago, I was a guy with a job and a wife and a plan for the future. Now I was a guy with a job I might lose, an ex-wife who hated me, and nothing but anger to keep me warm at night. Brennan was right. This was consuming me. But I didn't know how to stop, because stopping meant letting Jessica and Tyler win, meant accepting that they could destroy my life and walk away untouched. And I couldn't accept that, so I kept going. The next day, I drove to Tyler's apartment, but I didn't park outside, didn't knock on his door. I parked 2 blocks away, walked to a coffee shop across the street, ordered a drink, sat by the window, watched his building. I wasn't going to confront him, wasn't going to leave notes or make calls. I was just going to be there, present, a reminder that I existed. At 2 in the afternoon, Tyler came out, wearing gym clothes, carrying a duffel bag. He looked around nervously before getting in his truck. I waited until he drove away, then I left. Did the same thing the next day and the day after that. Just watching, just being present. Not illegal, not harassment, just observation. By the end of the week, Tyler was looking over his shoulder constantly, checking his mirrors, moving faster, more nervous. Good. On Friday, I decided to expand my surveillance. I knew Jessica was staying with her sister. Small house in the suburbs, 2 bedrooms, probably cramped with Jessica's stuff piled everywhere. I drove by at night, parked down the street, watched the house. The lights were on. I could see shadows moving behind the curtains. Jessica's car was in the driveway, so was another car I didn't recognize. I pulled out my phone, opened a browser, searched property records. The house belonged to Jennifer Hartley, Jessica's younger sister, divorced, 2 kids, worked as a dental hygienist. I made notes, added them to my spreadsheet, not because I planned to involve her, but because information is power, and I needed all the power I could get. At 9:30, Tyler's truck pulled into the driveway. I watched him get out, walk to the door, get let inside. He stayed for 2 hours. When he left, Jessica walked him to his truck. They kissed, long and intimate, like they had all the time in the world. I sat there watching, feeling that familiar cold anger. They thought they were safe now, thought the divorce was over and they could just be together. But they were wrong. The next morning, I got a text from an unknown number. I know what you're doing. Stop or I'll get a restraining order. Tyler. I didn't respond. Just blocked the number. An hour later, another text from another number. This is Jessica. Tyler told me you've been following him. If you don't stop, I'm calling the police. I texted back, I haven't been following anyone. If Tyler is paranoid, that's his problem. We have proof. Proof of what? That I exist in the same town? That I drive on public roads? That I go to public places? You know what you're doing. I'm living my life. If you don't like it, that's not my problem. She didn't respond. I put my phone away. Felt a grim satisfaction. They were panicking, trying to regain control, but they couldn't, because I hadn't done anything illegal, hadn't threatened anyone, hadn't broken any laws. I was just there, always there, a constant reminder of what they'd done, and that was worse than any threat. Over the weekend, I focused on work, caught up on inspection reports, reviewed code violations, tried to act normal. But Monday morning, I got called into my supervisor's office again. The HR woman was there. So was someone new. A man in a cheap suit with a tired expression. This is Detective Ramirez, my supervisor said. He wants to ask you some questions. I looked at the detective. About what? About allegations of stalking and harassment, he said. His voice was flat, bored, like he'd had this conversation 1,000 times. I already spoke to a detective. 2 weeks ago. I answered all her questions. This is a follow-up. New information has come to light. What information? He pulled out a folder, opened it, showed me printed photos. They were pictures of me, sitting in my truck outside Tyler's apartment, sitting in the coffee shop across the street, driving past Jessica's sister's house. These were taken over the past week, he said, by Mr. Bennett. He says you've been following him, watching him. creating a pattern of intimidation. I haven't been following him. I've been going about my life. If our paths cross, that's coincidence. Every day for a week isn't coincidence. I like that coffee shop. It has good coffee. You like sitting there for hours just watching his building? I like working on my laptop in a quiet place. He closed the folder. Mr. Patterson, I'm going to be straight with you. I don't care about your divorce. I don't care who cheated on who. What I care about is whether you're breaking the law, and right now it looks like you might be. I haven't broken any laws. Stalking is a law. Harassment is a law. If you continue this behavior, I will arrest you. Do you understand? I understand. Good. Because next time I won't be asking questions. I'll be filing charges. He stood up. Left. The HR woman looked at me. We're placing you on administrative leave, effective immediately, pending investigation. You're suspending me? We're protecting the county. If you're charged with a crime, it reflects on us. Until this is resolved, you're not to come to work. This is ridiculous. I haven't done anything wrong. That's for the police to determine. Right now, we need you to leave. I stood up, walked out, got in my truck, drove home, sat in my driveway staring at the house I'd fought so hard to keep, and realized I just lost something else. My job was gone. Maybe temporarily, maybe permanently. All because Jessica and Tyler couldn't handle the consequences of their actions. All because they wanted me to disappear, to stop existing, to let them be happy. But I wasn't going to disappear. I was going to escalate. That night, I made a decision. I was done playing by the rules, done trying to stay on the right side of the law, done being reasonable. If they wanted to destroy me, I was going to destroy them first. Not physically, not through violence, but through fear, through pressure, through making their lives so uncomfortable they couldn't function. I opened my laptop, started planning. Tyler's gym, his clients, his reputation, Jessica's school, her colleagues, her professional standing. I was going to dismantle everything they'd built, piece by piece, until they had nothing left. And I was going to do it in a way they'd never see coming. The plan started with information. I needed leverage, real leverage, the kind that couldn't be ignored or dismissed. I started with Tyler. His gym had a website, staff bios, photos, client testimonials. I read every word, studied every photo, looked for weaknesses, found one. Tyler had a certification listed: National Academy of Sports Medicine, Personal Training Certification. I checked the NASM website, looked up the verification database. His certification had expired 6 months ago. He was training clients with an expired certification, charging them for services he wasn't technically qualified to provide. Not illegal, but definitely against gym policy. Definitely grounds for termination. I took screenshots, printed them, made copies. Then I moved on to Jessica. Her school district had public records, budget reports, personnel files, board meeting minutes. I spent 3 days reading through everything, found something interesting. 2 years ago, the school had received a grant, $50,000 for mental health services. Jessica's department had been allocated $20,000 to expand counseling programs. But I couldn't find any evidence of expansion. No new hires, no new programs, just the same services they'd always offered. I filed a public records request, asked for documentation of how the grant money was spent. The response came back 2 weeks later. Most of it had gone to professional development, conferences, training, materials. But the receipts were vague: hotel bills, airline tickets, meals. I cross-referenced the dates with Jessica's social media. She'd been on vacation during 2 of the conferences, posted photos from beaches, restaurants, tourist attractions. Not illegal, but definitely questionable, definitely worth investigating. I made copies of everything, filed them in folders, organized them by date and type. Then I waited for the right moment. That moment came on a Tuesday. I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Answered it. Mr. Patterson? A woman's voice, professional, clipped. Yes? This is Margaret Chen from the county HR department. I wanted to follow up on your administrative leave status. Okay. The police have closed their investigation. No charges are being filed. You're cleared to return to work on Monday. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. However, I need to be clear. Any future complaints will result in immediate termination. Understood? Understood. She hung up. I sat there holding the phone, feeling something close to victory. They'd tried to destroy my career and failed. Now it was my turn. I drove to the gym where Tyler worked, walked inside, asked to speak to the manager. I'm sorry to bother you, I said, but I think you should know something about one of your trainers." She looked concerned. "Which trainer?" "Tyler Bennett. I was looking into personal training services, and I noticed his certification expired 6 months ago. I thought you'd want to know." Her face went pale. "Are you sure?" I handed her the printouts. "I verified it through NASM. He's been training clients without a valid certification." She looked at the papers, then at me. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention. We'll investigate immediately." "I appreciate that. I was considering signing up, but I want to make sure I'm working with qualified professionals." "Of course. We take these matters very seriously." I left, got in my truck, drove away, smiled. Tyler's world was about to get very complicated. 2 days later, I drove to Jessica's school district office, asked to speak to someone in the finance department. "I have some concerns about grant fund allocation," I told the clerk. "I'd like to file a formal inquiry." She looked bored. "What kind of concerns?" "Potential misuse of public funds. I have documentation." That got her attention. "Let me get my supervisor." 10 minutes later, I was sitting across from a middle-aged man in a rumpled suit. His nameplate said, "Dennis Cooper, Finance Director." "What can I help you with?" he asked. I laid out the documents. The grant, the budget allocation, the vague receipts, Jessica's vacation photos. "I'm not saying anyone did anything illegal," I said. "I'm just saying it looks questionable, and I thought the district would want to know." He studied the papers. His expression darkened. "Where did you get this information?" "Public records requests, all legally obtained." "And why are you bringing this to me?" "Because I'm a taxpayer, and I don't like seeing public money wasted." He nodded slowly. "I'll look into this. Thank you for bringing it to my attention." "Happy to help." I left, got in my truck, felt that cold satisfaction again. Jessica's professional reputation was about to take a serious hit. Over the next week, things started happening. Tyler stopped posting on social media. His gym profile disappeared from the website. Jessica started coming home later, looking more stressed. Her car was parked at her sister's house at odd hours. I didn't contact them, didn't confront them, just watched from a distance as their lives began to unravel, until Tyler called me. I saw his number, almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "What?" I said. "You got me fired." His voice was shaking. With anger or fear, I couldn't tell. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The gym, my certification. Someone told them it expired. I know it was you." "If your certification expired, that's your fault, not mine." "I was planning to renew it. I just hadn't gotten around to it." "Then you shouldn't have been training clients." "You ruined my career." "No, you did that yourself when you decided to sleep with my wife." "Ex-wife," he corrected. "Doesn't matter. You made a choice. Now you live with the consequences." "I'm going to sue you." "For what? Telling the truth?" "Good luck with that." He hung up. I sat there feeling something close to joy. Tyler was broken. His career was gone. His confidence was shattered. One down, one to go. That night, I got a call from Jessica. "What did you do?" she demanded. "I could ask you the same thing." "The district is investigating my department. They're reviewing all our grant allocations. They're asking questions about conferences I attended. This is your doing. If you didn't do anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. You filed a complaint, sent them documents. You're trying to get me fired." "I'm trying to make sure public funds are used appropriately. If that causes problems for you, maybe you should have been more careful with how you spent taxpayer money. Those conferences were legitimate. Then prove it. I can't believe you're doing this. After everything, you're still trying to hurt me." "I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to hold you accountable. This is revenge, plain and simple. This is consequences. You wanted out of our marriage? Fine. But you don't get to walk away without paying the price." "What price? You want me to lose my job, my reputation, my life? I want you to feel what I felt, to understand what you took from me, to carry the weight of what you did. You're insane." "No, I'm thorough, remember?" She hung up. I sat there in the dark house, feeling nothing but that cold emptiness. I'd hurt them, damaged them, made their lives difficult, but I still didn't feel better. Because revenge wasn't about feeling better. It was about balance, about making sure they paid for what they'd done, and I wasn't done yet. The following week, I went back to work. My coworkers avoided me, whispered when I walked by, treated me like I was radioactive. Word had spread about the investigation, about Jessica's complaints, about my administrative leave. I was the guy who couldn't let go, the bitter ex-husband, the cautionary tale. I didn't care. Let them whisper. Let them judge. They didn't know what I knew. Didn't see what I saw. They didn't understand that sometimes the only way to move forward is to burn everything down behind you. On Thursday, I got a text from Tyler. You win, okay? You win. Just leave us alone. I stared at the message, read it 3 times, then I deleted it. Because this wasn't about winning, it was about making sure they never forgot, and I wasn't done yet. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop, staring at the screen. I'd hurt them, damaged their careers, made their lives difficult. But there was one more thing I needed to do, one final piece of the puzzle, something that would tie everything together, that would make sure they understood exactly what they'd lost. I opened a new document, started typing a letter addressed to no one, about everything, about betrayal, about trust, about the cost of dishonesty, about what happens when you break someone and expect them to just walk away. I wrote for hours, pouring everything into words, all the anger, all the pain, all the cold clarity that had been building for months. When I finished, I read it back. It was perfect. Raw. Honest. Devastating. I saved it, closed my laptop, and started planning the final act. The final piece came from an unexpected place. I was at a hardware store on Saturday buying a new lock for the garage when I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years. Danny Fisher. We'd worked together at the county 5 years ago. He'd left to start his own property inspection business. Hey man, he said, walking up to me. Long time. Hey Danny, how have you been? Good. Busy. You? Been better. He looked at me with concern. I heard about the divorce. Sorry man, that's rough. Yeah. We talked for a few minutes, catching up, the usual small talk. Then he said something that caught my attention. I'm actually inspecting a property tomorrow. Commercial space downtown, owners converting it into apartments. You should stop by if you want. I could use a second opinion on some of the structural stuff. What's the address? I asked. He told me. I recognized it immediately. The building 3 doors down from Tyler's gym. Yeah, I can stop by, I said. What time? Around 2. Owner will be there too. Nice guy. Name's Hartley. Used to be in construction. Hartley. Jennifer Hartley, Jessica's sister. The pieces clicked into place. Actually, I know someone with that name, I said carefully. Jennifer Hartley. Works in dental. Yeah, that's his daughter. Small world. Small world indeed. I thanked Danny. Told him I'd see him tomorrow. Drove home with my mind racing. Jessica's sister's father owned property downtown. Property right next to where Tyler worked. Or used to work before I got him fired. This was the twist I'd been waiting for, the unexpected connection. The next day, I showed up at the property at 2. Danny was already there, walking through the building with a man in his 60s. Tall, gray hair, weathered face, the look of someone who'd spent years working with his hands. Mr. Hartley, this is my colleague, Stephen Patterson, Danny said. He's with the county. I asked him to take a look at the structural assessment. Hartley shook my hand. Appreciate it. This building's been standing for 80 years. Want to make sure it'll stand for 80 more? We spent an hour going through the space, checking beams, measuring load capacity, reviewing the architectural plans. Hartley was knowledgeable, asked good questions, clearly knew his stuff. You said you used to be in construction? I asked. 40 years, he said. Retired 5 years ago. Bought this building as an investment. Figure I'll convert it, rent it out, live off the income. Smart move. We'll see. My daughter thinks I'm crazy, says I should sell it, but I like having a project. Which daughter? I asked casually. Jennifer. She's always been practical. Her sister Jessica, on the other hand, she's more of a dreamer. I kept my face neutral. Jessica. That's a nice name. She's a good kid, going through a rough time right now, divorce, but she'll land on her feet. I'm sure she will. We finished the inspection. I gave Danny my notes. Shook Hartley's hand. If you need any help with permits or code issues, let me know, I said. Happy to assist. I appreciate that, Hartley said. I left. Got in my truck, sat there for a moment, thinking. Hartley didn't know who I was, didn't know I was Jessica's ex-husband, which meant I could use him, not maliciously, not directly, but as a connection, a way in, an unexpected angle. That night, I called Danny. Hey, thanks for including me today, I said. No problem. Your input was helpful. I was thinking, I've got some free time right now. If Hartley needs help navigating the permit process, I'd be happy to consult. Off the clock. Just helping out. Really? That'd be great. Let me talk to him. 2 days later, Danny called back. Hartley's interested. He's got some questions about zoning compliance. Can you meet him on Thursday? Absolutely. Thursday came. I met Hartley at a diner downtown. We talked about his project, about permits, about timelines. You really know your stuff, he said. I appreciate the help. Happy to do it. I like seeing old buildings get new life. Me too. My daughter Jennifer keeps saying I should hire a property manager, but I like being hands-on. Nothing wrong with that. Her sister thinks I should just sell the whole thing, move to Florida, but I'm not ready to retire yet. Jessica, right? I said carefully. Yeah. How'd you remember? You mentioned her before. She's going through a divorce? His face darkened. Yeah, messy situation. Her ex is making things difficult. Won't leave her alone. I kept my expression neutral. That's rough. She's been staying with Jennifer for months now, trying to figure out her next move. But this guy keeps harassing her, following her boyfriend, filing complaints. It's insane. Some people can't let go, I said. Exactly. I told her to get a restraining order, but apparently that's harder than it sounds. Yeah, the legal system doesn't always work the way it should. We talked for another hour, about construction, about codes, about his plans for the building. When we finished, he shook my hand. Thanks again for your help. I owe you one. Don't worry about it. Just doing what I love. I drove home feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope, not for reconciliation, not for forgiveness, but for opportunity. Hartley trusted me, liked me, saw me as helpful. He had no idea who I was, what I'd done, what I was planning, and that gave me power. Over the next 2 weeks, I helped Hartley with his project, reviewed plans, filed permits, made sure everything was up to code. We met regularly, had coffee, talked about construction and retirement and family. He mentioned Jessica occasionally, always with concern, always with frustration about her crazy ex-husband. I played along, sympathized, agreed that some people just can't move on. Meanwhile, I learned everything about Hartley's relationship with his daughters. He was close with Jennifer, saw her every week, helped with her kids. He was more distant with Jessica, loved her, but didn't always understand her. Thought she made impulsive decisions, like leaving her husband for a younger guy, like staying in a job she complained about constantly, like refusing to take his advice. She's stubborn, he said one day. Always has been. Gets an idea in her head and won't let it go. Sounds familiar? I said. He laughed. You married? Was. Divorced a few months ago. Kids? No. That makes it easier. My ex-wife and I had 2. Made everything complicated. I imagine? You get remarried, make sure you find someone who shares your values. That's the key. I'll keep that in mind. By the end of the month, Hartley and I were on friendly terms. He invited me to family dinners, introduced me to Jennifer, asked my advice on personal matters, and through him, I learned things about Jessica I never would have known otherwise. She was struggling financially. The divorce settlement hadn't been as generous as she'd hoped. Tyler was still unemployed, looking for work, but not finding anything. They were fighting more. About money, about the future, about whether moving in together was a good idea. Jessica was starting to regret leaving me. Not because she missed me, but because life with Tyler was harder than she'd imagined. I absorbed all of this, filed it away, waited for the right moment. That moment came on a Tuesday. Hartley called me. Hey, I need a favor. Jessica's car broke down. She needs someone to look at it. You know anything about cars? A little, I said. What's wrong with it? Not sure. It won't start. She's at Jennifer's house right now. Think you could take a look? Every instinct told me to say no, to stay away, to not get involved. But this was the opportunity I'd been waiting for. Sure, I said. Text me the address. An hour later, I pulled up to Jennifer's house. Jessica's car was in the driveway, hood up, Jennifer standing next to it, looking frustrated. I got out, grabbed my toolbox from the truck. Hi, I said. I'm Steven. Your dad asked me to take a look. Jennifer smiled with relief. Thank you so much. I don't know anything about cars. No problem. Let me see what's going on. I opened the hood, started checking connections, battery terminals, spark plugs, found the problem immediately. Corroded battery cable. Easy fix, I said. Just needs a new cable. I've got one in my truck. Really? That's amazing. I went to get the cable. started installing it. That's when Jessica came out of the house. She stopped when she saw me. Her face went pale. "What are you doing here?" she asked. I looked up from the engine, met her eyes. "Fixing your car," I said calmly. "How did you know I was here?" "I didn't. Your dad asked me to help. I'm friends with your dad." Her expression shifted from shock to confusion to horror. "You're friends with my dad?" "We've been working together on his property downtown. He's a good guy." Jennifer looked between us. "Wait, you two know each other?" "He's my ex-husband," Jessica said. Jennifer's mouth dropped open. "What?" I finished installing the cable, closed the hood. "Try it now." Jessica just stood there, staring at me. Jennifer got in the car, turned the key. The engine started. "It works," she said. I packed up my tools. "You're all set." "Thank you," Jennifer said. Then she looked at Jessica. "Wait, this is the guy you've been—" "Yes," Jessica cut her off. "But Dad said he was helping with the building." "He is," I said. "Your dad and I have been working together for a few weeks now. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable." Jessica's face was red. "Does he know who you are?" "No. Should he?" "You're using him to get to me." "I'm helping him with his project. That's all. This is sick. This is life," I said. "Sometimes paths cross in unexpected ways." Jennifer looked uncomfortable. "Maybe I should go inside." "Good idea," Jessica said. Jennifer went inside, closed the door. Jessica and I stood there in the driveway, 10 feet apart, staring at each other. "You need to leave," she said finally. "I fixed your car. You're welcome." "Stay away from my family." "Your dad asked for my help. I'm not going to refuse him because it makes you uncomfortable." "This is harassment. This is networking. I met your dad through work. We became friends. That's not illegal. You're doing this on purpose. I'm doing my job. If that happens to overlap with your life, that's not my fault." She stepped closer, her voice low and angry. "You need to stop. All of this. The complaints, the investigations, the stalking, it needs to end. I haven't stalked anyone. You know what you've done. You've made my life miserable, Tyler's life miserable. You've tried to destroy us. I've held you accountable. There's a difference. No, you've been vindictive and cruel and obsessed, and it needs to stop." I looked at her, really looked at her, saw the exhaustion in her face, the fear in her eyes, and I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, no guilt, just that cold satisfaction. "You're right about one thing," I said. "This does need to stop." Relief washed over her face. "Thank you." "But not yet." The relief vanished. "What?" "I'm not done. Not until you understand what you took from me, what you destroyed." "I understand." "No, you don't. You think this is about revenge, about me being petty, but it's not. It's about consequences, about making sure you can't just walk away clean." "I haven't walked away clean. You've made sure of that." "Good. Then we're making progress." I walked to my truck, got in, rolled down the window. "Tell your dad I said hello," I said. "I'll see him Thursday to finish the permit paperwork." Then I drove away, left her standing there in the driveway, shocked, angry, defeated. And I smiled, because the twist had worked perfectly. I'd infiltrated her family without even trying, become friends with her father, gained access to her life in a way she never saw coming, and now she knew that I was always going to be there, always watching, always waiting, that there was no escape, no safe place, no way to forget what she'd done, because I was everywhere, and I wasn't going away. That night, I got 3 calls from Jessica. I didn't answer any of them. Then a text. "You can't do this. You can't use my family against me." I texted back, "I'm not using anyone. I'm just being helpful. Your dad appreciates it." "He won't when I tell him who you are." "Go ahead. Tell him. Explain how your ex-husband has been helping him for weeks and never mentioned it. Explain how I've been nothing but professional and courteous. See how that goes." She didn't respond, because she knew. If she told Hartley the truth, it would raise questions. Why hadn't I mentioned it? Why had I been so helpful? What was I really after? And Hartley would have to choose. Trust his daughter's warnings or trust the guy who'd been helping him navigate permits and code violations for free. I'd positioned myself perfectly, made myself valuable, made myself trustworthy. And now Jessica had to live with the knowledge that I was embedded in her family, that I could show up at any time, that there was no way to avoid me without creating drama. The next morning, I met Danny for coffee. "How'd it go with Jessica's car?" he asked. "Fixed it. Simple problem." Hartley said you were a lifesaver. His daughter was really grateful. Which one? Jennifer, I think. The one with the kids? Yeah, she was nice. Appreciative. Hartley's really impressed with you. Says you've saved him thousands in consultant fees. Just helping out a friend? Well, it's paying off. He wants to hire you for his next project. Another building he's looking at. Commercial space near the waterfront. I'd be interested. Oh, good. He's talking about making you a partner. Equity stake in the development. I raised an eyebrow. Really? Yeah. He says you've got the expertise he needs, and he trusts you. Trust. That was the key word. Hartley trusted me, and that trust gave me access. Power, control. Tell him I'm definitely interested, I said. Over the next week, I continued helping Hartley. Met with him 3 times. Reviewed plans for the waterfront property. Discussed partnership terms. He was serious. Wanted to formalize our arrangement. Wanted to bring me on as a full partner. You've got the technical knowledge, he said. I've got the capital and experience. Together we could do some real damage in this market. I appreciate the offer. I really do. But I want to make sure this is the right fit, that we're aligned on values, on vision. We are. I can tell. You're detail-oriented, thorough. You care about doing things right. That's exactly what I need. What about your daughters? Do they support this? Jennifer does. She's always telling me to find a good business partner, someone who can take over when I'm too old to do this anymore. And Jessica? His face darkened. Jessica's got her own problems right now. She's not really involved in my business decisions. Still, family's important. I don't want to cause any tension. You won't. Jessica and I don't always see eye to eye, but that's between her and me. Fair enough? We shook hands, agreed to move forward with the partnership discussions. When I left, I felt that cold satisfaction again. I'd done it. I'd inserted myself into Jessica's family, made myself indispensable to her father, created a situation where she couldn't avoid me without damaging her relationship with him. And the best part? I hadn't lied, and hadn't manipulated, hadn't done anything wrong. I'd just been helpful, professional, trustworthy, everything she wasn't. That weekend, Hartley invited me to a family barbecue at Jennifer's house. Nothing fancy, he said. Just burgers and beer. My daughters will be there. Some grandkids. Would love for you to join. Every instinct told me to decline, but I couldn't, because this was the ultimate test, the final confirmation that I'd won. I'd love to, I said. Saturday afternoon, I showed up at Jennifer's house with a 6-pack and a smile. Hartley greeted me at the door. Glad you could make it. Come on in. The backyard was full of people, kids running around, adults standing in clusters talking and laughing. And there, by the grill, was Jessica. She saw me. Her face went white. I walked over to Hartley, shook hands with Jennifer's husband, made small talk with relatives, acted like this was completely normal, like I belonged there. Jessica pulled her father aside. I couldn't hear what she said, but I could see her gesturing, her face red, her voice rising. Hartley looked confused, then annoyed, then firm. Whatever she was saying, he wasn't buying it. After a few minutes, she stormed off, went inside the house. Hartley came back over to me. Sorry about that. Jessica's having a tough time right now. Divorce has her on edge. No worries. I understand. She seems to think there's some kind of problem with you being here, but I told her that's ridiculous. You've been nothing but helpful. I appreciate that. Don't let her drama ruin your afternoon. Have a burger, relax. I stayed for 2 hours, talked to people, played with Jennifer's kids, acted like I was part of the family. Jessica stayed inside the entire time, watching through the window, fuming. When I left, Hartley walked me to my truck. Thanks for coming, he said. Sorry again about Jessica. She's dealing with a lot. No need to apologize. I get it. She says you're her ex-husband. That true? I looked him in the eye. Yeah, we divorced a few months ago. Why didn't you mention it? Because it's not relevant. We're adults. The marriage ended. We moved on, or at least I did. He nodded slowly. She seems to think you're harassing her. She thinks a lot of things that aren't true. The divorce was hard on both of us, but I've been nothing but respectful. If she's uncomfortable, that's on her. Oh, fair enough. I'm not going to get involved in your personal business. As far as I'm concerned, you're a good guy who's been helping me out. That's all that matters. I appreciate that. We shook hands. I drove away, feeling victorious. Jessica had tried to turn her father against me, and failed, because I'd built trust, built credibility, built a relationship that was stronger than her accusations. And now she knew what it felt like to have someone invade your space, your family, your life, to feel powerless to stop it. That night, I got a text from Tyler. "What are you doing? Why are you at Jessica's family events?" I texted back, "I was invited. Jessica's father and I are business partners." "You're not business partners. You're stalking her through her family." "I'm networking. If that makes her uncomfortable, she should examine why." "This is insane. You need help." "I need closure, and I'm getting it." He stopped responding. Good. Let them panic. Let them feel the pressure. Let them understand that I wasn't going to disappear just because they wanted me to. The next week, I had lunch with Hartley, signed the partnership agreement for the waterfront project. "This is exciting," he said. "I've got a good feeling about this." "Me too." "Jennifer's thrilled. She's always wanted me to have a reliable partner, someone who can help carry the load." "What about Jessica?" He sighed. "Jessica's still upset. Says you're manipulating me. Says this whole partnership is just a way to get back at her." "What do you think?" "I think she's projecting her own issues onto the situation. You've been nothing but professional. If she can't handle that, that's her problem." "I appreciate your trust." "You've earned it." We finished lunch, shook hands, made plans to tour the waterfront property the following week. When I got home, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace, not happiness, not satisfaction, but peace. Because the revenge was complete. I'd dismantled their lives, damaged their careers, invaded their space, and I'd done it all within the bounds of the law. Jessica and Tyler had destroyed my marriage, taken my peace, left me with nothing but anger and emptiness, and I'd made sure they paid, not through violence, not through illegal actions, but through systematic, methodical pressure, through consequences they never saw coming. They thought they could cheat and lie and walk away clean, thought they could start fresh without looking back, but they were wrong, because I was always going to be there, in their periphery, in their family, in their minds, a constant reminder of what they'd done, a ghost they could never exorcise. That night, I sat in my house, the house I'd fought to keep, the house that was now truly mine, and I poured myself a drink, not to celebrate, not to numb the pain, but to toast the end of something, the end of the old me, the patient, predictable husband who let people walk over him, and the beginning of something else, something colder, harder, more dangerous. I'd become the villain of my own story, the cautionary tale, the guy who couldn't let go, and I was okay with that, because sometimes being the villain is the only way to survive. Sometimes the only way to move forward is to make sure the people who hurt you can never forget what they did, and I'd made sure Jessica and Tyler would never forget, ever. I finished my drink, set the glass down, stared at the empty room. Tomorrow I'd go back to work, back to inspections and reports and code violations, back to being normal. But I'd never truly be normal again, because I knew what I was capable of now, knew how far I could push, how much damage I could do without ever breaking the law, knew that patience and planning were more powerful than anger and violence, and that knowledge changed everything. My phone buzzed, a text from Hartley. "Looking forward to the waterfront walkthrough next week. This is going to be great." I texted back, "Me too. See you then." Then I put my phone away, turned off the lights, went to bed, and for the first time in months, I slept soundly, because the revenge was complete. Or so I thought, because the next morning, everything changed. The call came at 7 in the morning. Hartley's number. "Stephen, we need to talk. Can you come to my office?" His voice was different, colder, all the warmth gone. "When?" I asked. "Now." He hung up. I got dressed, drove to his office downtown, a small space above a hardware store, 2 rooms and a bathroom. When I walked in, he was sitting behind his desk, arms crossed, face hard. Jennifer was there too, standing by the window. She wouldn't look at me. "What's going on?" I asked. "Jessica told me everything," Hartley said, "about the complaints you filed, the investigations you started, the harassment." "I haven't harassed anyone." "You got Tyler fired. You reported Jessica to her district. You've been following them, watching them, making their lives miserable." "I held them accountable for their actions. That's all." "You used me," he said, his voice rising. "You befriended me, helped me with my project, all so you could get close to my daughter, so you could hurt her." "That's not true. I helped you because you needed help, because we had a good working relationship." You never mentioned you were her ex-husband. Because it wasn't relevant. Our marriage was over. What happened between Jessica and me had nothing to do with our business partnership. Jennifer finally spoke. That's a lie. You knew exactly what you were doing. You manipulated my father, used him to get access to Jessica. That's sick. I didn't manipulate anyone. I was honest, professional. If Jessica has problems with me being in her life, that's her issue, not mine. Hartley stood up. The partnership is over. I want nothing to do with you, and I want you to stay away from my family, all of them. You're making a mistake. I've been nothing but helpful to you. You're a vindictive, obsessed man who can't let go of his failed marriage, and I don't want that kind of person in my life. Your daughter destroyed our marriage, lied to me for months, cheated on me, and you're taking her side? She made mistakes, but she's my daughter, and I'm not going to let you use me to punish her. I looked at him, then at Jennifer, then back at him. Fine, I said. The partnership is dissolved. I'll have my lawyer send the paperwork. Good. I walked out, got in my truck, drove away, felt nothing but cold rage. Jessica had won this round, turned her father against me, destroyed the partnership, but I wasn't done yet, not even close. That afternoon, I called Brennan. They dissolved the partnership, I said. What partnership? I've been working with Jessica's father, business venture. He just ended it. Says I manipulated him. Brennan was quiet for a long moment. Please tell me you didn't actually work with her father. Why not? It was a legitimate business opportunity. Because it looks like you're obsessed with her, like you're infiltrating her family to get revenge. I was helping an old man with his property development, that's all. That's not what it looks like. And if Jessica files another complaint, this is going to be Exhibit A, proof that you're stalking her family. I'm not stalking anyone. Then what do you call befriending her father without telling him who you are? I call it networking. A judge is going to call it harassment. You need to stop, right now. No more contact with Jessica. No more contact with her family. No more anything. She destroyed my life. And I'm supposed to just walk away? Yes, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Because if you don't, you're going to lose everything. Your job, your freedom, everything. I've already lost everything. No, you haven't. You still have your job, your house, your future. Don't throw that away because you can't let go of your anger. I hung up, sat there in my truck, staring at nothing. Brennan was right. I was throwing everything away, risking everything for revenge. But I couldn't stop, because stopping meant Jessica won, meant she got to walk away free while I carried all the pain. And I couldn't accept that. That night, I sat in my house, drinking, thinking, planning, because if Hartley wouldn't give me access, I'd find another way. Tyler was unemployed, struggling, looking for work. Jessica was under investigation. Her professional reputation damaged. They were vulnerable, weak, exactly where I wanted them. All I needed was one more push, this one final move that would break them completely. And I knew exactly what that move was. The plan was simple, elegant, devastating. Tyler needed a job. I was going to help him get one, not out of kindness, but because I wanted to control where he worked, who he worked with, what he did. I started calling gyms, fitness centers, personal training studios, asked if they were hiring, said I was doing research for a friend, found one that was desperate, new location, understaffed, looking for trainers immediately. I called, asked to speak to the owner. I know someone who might be perfect, I said. Experienced trainer, good with clients, available immediately. Send me his resume, the owner said. I hung up, created a fake email account, sent Tyler's information. But I also attached something else, a document outlining his expired certification, his previous lawsuit, his termination from his last gym, with a note. Thought you should know his full history before hiring. Then I waited. 3 days later, I got a text from Tyler. Did you send my resume to CrossFit Edge? I didn't respond. They called me for an interview, then canceled it. Said they received information about my background. Was that you? Still didn't respond. You can't do this. You can't sabotage every job I apply for. I texted back. I didn't sabotage anything. I just made sure they had complete information. What they do with it is their choice. This is illegal. I'm calling my lawyer. Go ahead. Nothing I did was illegal. I provided factual information to a potential employer. That's not a crime. He stopped responding. I smiled. Tyler was never going to find work. Not while I was watching. Not while I could intercept his applications. warn his potential employers, make sure everyone knew his history. He'd be unemployed forever. Broke, desperate, exactly what he deserved. But then something unexpected happened. Something that made me pause. I was sitting in my truck outside a different gym, one where Tyler had applied, waiting to see if he'd show up for an interview, and I saw myself, not literally, but metaphorically, sitting there in a parking lot, watching, waiting, obsessing, just like I'd been doing for months. And I realized I'd become exactly what Jessica's lawyer had called me, a stalker, someone who couldn't let go. I'd been so focused on making them pay that I'd forgotten what I was paying, my time, my energy, my peace of mind. Every hour spent planning revenge was an hour not spent rebuilding my life. Every moment focused on them was a moment stolen from myself. I started the truck, drove away, didn't look back. That was the moment I realized I needed to stop, really stop. Not because the law said so, but because I was destroying myself. Next was Jessica. The school district investigation was ongoing, taking longer than I'd hoped, so I decided to help it along. I filed another public records request, asked for all communications between Jessica and her supervisor, all budget reports from her department, all documentation of how grant funds were spent. The district was required to comply, by law, and when they did, I went through everything, line by line, looking for discrepancies. Found several. Conference expenses that didn't match travel dates, purchases that weren't properly documented, reimbursements that seemed questionable. I compiled it all, sent it anonymously to the district's internal audit department, with a note, "Thought you should review these carefully." Then I waited. A week later, Jessica called me. She was crying. "They're suspending me," she sobbed. "Pending investigation. I'm going to lose my job." "That's unfortunate," I said calmly. "You did this. You sent them information. You're destroying my career. I'm ensuring accountability. If you did nothing wrong, the investigation will clear you. You know I didn't do anything wrong. Those expenses were legitimate." "Then you have nothing to worry about." "I can't afford a lawyer. Tyler's unemployed. I don't know what to do." "Maybe you should have thought about that before you cheated on your husband." She hung up. I sat there feeling that cold satisfaction again. They were both broken now. Tyler couldn't work. Jessica was suspended. Their relationship was falling apart under the financial pressure. Everything I'd planned was coming together, but I still wasn't done, because there was one more thing I needed to do. One final piece that would make the revenge complete. I needed them to understand, really understand, what they'd taken from me, and I knew exactly how to do it. The next day, I went to the coffee shop where they'd first met, the one with exposed brick and Edison bulbs. I ordered a drink, sat at the corner table, the same table where I'd watched them laughing months ago, and I waited. At 6:30, Jessica walked in, alone, looking exhausted, defeated. She ordered coffee, turned to find a seat, saw me. Her face went white. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "Having coffee. It's a public place." "You're following me." "No, I'm sitting here. You're the one who walked in." She looked around, saw the table, the same table where she used to meet Tyler. "This isn't a coincidence," she said. "Maybe it is. Maybe I just like this coffee shop. You're doing this on purpose, reminding me, making me feel guilty. Do you feel guilty?" She stood there for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, she sat down across from me, tired, broken. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. "Just tell me what you want, and I'll give it to you. Money? An apology? What?" "I want you to understand what you took from me. I understand. I hurt you. I made mistakes. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough. Sorry doesn't undo what you did." She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw tears forming in her eyes. "Then what will? What do I have to do to make you stop?" I opened my mouth to answer, to tell her there was nothing she could do, that this would never end, but the words wouldn't come. Because sitting there, looking at her exhausted face, I realized something. She was already broken. Tyler was already broken. Their lives were already destroyed. And I still felt nothing. No satisfaction, no joy, no relief, just emptiness. "Nothing," I said finally. "There's nothing you can do, because this isn't about making things right. It's about making sure you never forget what you did. I won't forget. Trust me, I live with it every day." "Good. Is it? Is that really what you want? For both of us to be miserable forever?" I didn't answer, because I didn't know anymore. "I loved you," she said, her voice breaking. I know you don't believe that, but I did. I just got lost, made terrible choices, hurt you in ways I can never take back. You're right, you can't. But at some point, one of us has to stop. One of us has to be strong enough to end this. Because if we don't, we'll both be stuck here forever, hating each other, destroying each other. She stood up, grabbed her coffee. I'm done fighting you, she said. You've won. You've taken everything from me. My job, my reputation, my peace of mind. If that's what you needed, then congratulations. But I'm not going to keep playing this game. I'm going to move on. And I hope someday you can too. She walked out. I sat there, alone, staring at my untouched coffee, and realized she was right. One of us had to stop. One of us had to be strong enough to walk away. And maybe that person had to be me. 2 days later, I got a call from Detective Ramirez. Mr. Patterson, we need to talk. Jessica Reynolds filed for a restraining order. Says you've been stalking her, harassing her. The hearing is next week. I haven't done anything illegal. That's for the judge to decide. But I'm advising you to get a lawyer. This is serious. I have a lawyer. Good, use him. She hung up. I called Brennan immediately. They're filing for a restraining order, I said. I know, I just got the paperwork. They're alleging a pattern of harassment, following her, contacting her family, sabotaging her career. Can they prove any of that? They don't need proof. They just need to convince a judge that you're a threat. And based on what they're claiming, they might succeed. So what do? You show up at the hearing, you tell your side, and you pray the judge believes you. And if they don't, then you get a restraining order, which means no contact with Jessica at all. And if you violate it, you go to prison. This is ridiculous. I haven't done anything wrong. That's what we'll argue. But you need to understand something. The pattern they're describing looks bad, really bad. Even if each individual action was legal, the totality looks like obsession. It's not obsession, it's accountability. The judge isn't going to see it that way. You need to be prepared for that. The hearing was scheduled for the following Tuesday, 10 in the morning, County Courthouse, Room 3B. I showed up early, wearing a suit, looking professional. Brennan met me outside. Remember, let me do the talking. If the judge asks you a direct question, answer it honestly, but don't volunteer information, don't get emotional, and don't engage with Jessica. Got it. We walked into the courtroom. Jessica was already there, sitting with her lawyer, a sharp woman in her 50s with gray hair and calculating eyes. Tyler was sitting behind her, for moral support. The judge was an older man, balding, reading glasses, the look of someone who'd heard every story twice. This is a hearing for a temporary restraining order, he said. Ms. Reynolds, you're the petitioner. Mr. Patterson, you're the respondent. Ms. Reynolds, present your case. Jessica's lawyer stood up, began outlining everything, the divorce, the affair, my alleged harassment. She had documentation, photos of me outside Tyler's apartment, emails I'd sent to the gym, requests I'd filed with the school district. Mr. Patterson has engaged in a systematic campaign of harassment, she said. He's followed my client, contacted her employer, befriended her family under false pretenses, created a hostile environment that has caused significant emotional distress. The judge looked at the documents, then at me. Mr. Patterson, what's your response? Brennan stood. Your Honor, my client has not engaged in harassment. Every action he's taken has been legal. He filed legitimate complaints with appropriate authorities. He attended public places. He worked with Ms. Reynolds' father on a business venture that had nothing to do with her. But the pattern suggests obsession, the judge said. The pattern suggests a man trying to move on from a difficult divorce. Yes, their paths have crossed, but that's not illegal, and it's not harassment. What about befriending her father? That was a legitimate business relationship. Mr. Hartley approached my client for help with a property development. My client provided that help. He didn't use the relationship to harass Ms. Reynolds. The judge looked at me. Mr. Patterson, did you know Mr. Hartley was Ms. Reynolds' father when you started working with him? No, Your Honor. I met him through a mutual colleague. I didn't learn he was Jessica's father until weeks later. And when you did learn that, you didn't disclose your relationship with Ms. Reynolds? No, Your Honor, because it wasn't relevant. Our marriage was over. Mr. Hartley and I had a professional relationship that had nothing to do with my ex-wife. But you attended family events. You went to Miss Reynolds' sister's house. You fixed Ms. Reynolds' car. I was invited to those events by Mr. Hartley, and I fixed the car because I was asked to. I didn't seek out those interactions. The judge was quiet, reading through the documents. Your Honor, Jessica's lawyer said, the totality of Mr. Patterson's actions demonstrates a pattern of intrusive behavior. He may claim each action was innocent, but together they create an environment where my client cannot feel safe. Your Honor, Brennan countered, Ms. Reynolds wants to paint my client as a stalker, but the reality is that she's uncomfortable with the consequences of her own actions. She cheated on her husband, she left him, and now she doesn't like that he's moved on with his life in a way that occasionally intersects with hers. The judge looked at both lawyers, then at Jessica, then at me. I'm going to grant a temporary restraining order, he said. Mr. Patterson, you are to have no contact with Ms. Reynolds, direct or indirect. You are not to go to her place of employment. You are not to contact her family members. You are not to attend any events where you know she will be present. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor, I said. This order is effective immediately. We'll have a full hearing in 30 days to determine if it should be made permanent. Court is adjourned. He banged his gavel. I stood up, walked out of the courtroom. Brennan followed. I'm sorry. I thought we had a chance. It's fine, I said. It's not fine. You have a restraining order. If you violate it, you go to prison. I won't violate it. Good, because this is over now. You can't contact her. You can't contact her family. You need to move on. I know. Do you? Because for the past 6 months, you've been obsessed with revenge, with making her pay, and now you're legally prohibited from doing that. Can you actually let it go? I looked at him. Yes, I can. He didn't look convinced, but he nodded. Good. Then let's hope that's true. Go home, get some rest, and tomorrow start fresh. I drove home. The route was familiar. Every turn, every stop sign, every landmark. But it felt different somehow, like I was seeing it for the first time. When I pulled into my driveway, I sat there for a long time, looking at the house I'd fought for, the house that was supposed to be my victory. But it felt empty now, hollow, like everything I'd done had been for nothing. I'd hurt them, damaged their careers, made their lives miserable. But I hadn't fixed mine, hadn't made myself whole again. I'd just become something worse, something colder, more broken. I went inside. The silence was deafening. No TV, no music, just the sound of my own breathing. I poured myself a drink, sat on the couch in the dark, and for the first time in months, I let myself feel it. All of it. The pain, the anger, the emptiness. I'd spent so long focusing on making them hurt that I'd never dealt with my own hurt, never processed the betrayal, the loss, the grief. I'd just buried it under layers of revenge, covered it up with plans and schemes and cold satisfaction. But now, with nowhere left to go, nothing left to do, it all came flooding back. And I cried. Not for Jessica, not for our marriage, for myself, for what I'd become, for everything I'd lost in pursuit of revenge. Because revenge hadn't made me feel better, hadn't healed the wound. It had just made the wound deeper, darker, more permanent. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. Buzzed again. I picked it up. 2 texts from an unknown number. Your husband material. He's just fun. Why can't I have both? The words from months ago. The words that had started everything. Then another text. I said, you're right. Let me think about it. Packed all her things. The next day while she was out, she came home to boxes and a note. Thought about it? No. I stared at the screen. Confused? Then a third text. You won. I hope it was worth it. Jessica. She was throwing my own words back at me. The conversation that had ended our marriage. The moment I'd decided to fight back. I sat there holding the phone, reading the words over and over. She was acknowledging it, admitting that I'd broken her, that the revenge had worked. But instead of satisfaction, I felt sick, because she was right. I had won. I'd destroyed her career, isolated her from support, made her life miserable, and it hadn't been worth it. I typed back, no, it wasn't. Sent it, then blocked the number, finished my drink, poured another, sat there in the darkness until the sun came up, and realized something that should have been obvious from the beginning. Revenge doesn't heal you. It doesn't make you whole. It doesn't fix what's broken. It just breaks you differently. The next morning, I made a decision. I was done. Done with revenge, done with anger, done with Jessica and Tyler and everything they represented. The restraining order wasn't a punishment, it was permission. Legal permission to stop, to walk away, to finally move on. I called in sick to work, spent the day cleaning, threw out everything that reminded me of Jessica, photos, Gifts, mementos, packed it all in boxes, took it to the donation center, came home to an even emptier house, but it felt lighter somehow, like I'd removed a weight I'd been carrying. Over the next few weeks, I focused on rebuilding, not my relationship, not my marriage, just myself. I started going to the gym, actually working out instead of stalking Tyler, started eating better, sleeping on a regular schedule, started talking to people at work again, being friendly, being normal. It was hard at first, like learning to walk after being bedridden, but slowly it got easier. I stopped thinking about Jessica every waking moment, stopped planning, stopped scheming, started living, and one morning I woke up and realized I hadn't thought about her at all the day before. That was the day I knew I was going to be okay. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. The restraining order hearing came a month later. I showed up. So did Jessica. The judge reviewed everything, asked if there had been any violations. "No, Your Honor," Jessica's lawyer said. "Good. Mr. Patterson, have you had any contact with Ms. Reynolds?" "No, Your Honor." "And do you intend to have contact in the future?" "No, Your Honor. I'm moving on with my life." He looked at both of us. "I'm going to make this order permanent, but I want both of you to understand something. This is a fresh start. For both of you, don't waste it." He banged his gavel. Court was adjourned. I walked out without looking back, got in my truck, drove home, and smiled. Not because I'd won, but because it was finally over. Really over. 6 months after the restraining order, I was at a grocery store, just shopping, living my life. I turned the corner into the produce section, and there was Tyler. We saw each other at the same time, both froze. He looked different, thinner, older, worn down by life. We stood there for a moment, 10 feet apart, neither of us speaking, then he nodded. Just a small acknowledgement. I nodded back, and we both kept walking. No words, no confrontation, no anger, just two people who'd been through something terrible, who'd survived, who were moving forward. I finished shopping, loaded my groceries, drove home, and realized something had changed. I didn't feel angry anymore, didn't feel that cold satisfaction, just felt neutral, like Tyler was a stranger, someone I used to know. That night, I sat on my porch, drinking coffee, watching the sunset, and thought about everything that had happened, the affair, the divorce, the revenge. All of it had felt so important at the time, so necessary. But looking back now, it just felt like waste. Time and energy and emotion poured into something that hadn't made anything better.